Good evening, Teaneck. Good evening, council. Our council members who are calling in, please raise your hand in the chat so I could bring you in. There's just a lot of names to scroll through, and I do not want to miss anybody. When you raise your hand, you get brought to the top of the queue here. Again, just raise your hand if you're a member of council. Just council members raising their hand, please. And our township manager and attorneys. That's acceptable too for now. I'm also confirming with everyone that we are live on Zoom. We are live on YouTube, about to be live on Facebook. We have the prestigious Mr. Ron Goodman setting up our live stream to public access also. We are queued into Facebook.
Okay, we're
I see a few hands here.
yes, Mark's made up the stair. Karen's been 1, 2, 3, 4.
Waiting
5.
for John.
We're missing.
Hang on, let me find.
We're missing Councilmember Rice.
I'm looking. There she is. Again, neighbors of Teaneck, members of the public, please save your hand raising. There will be plenty of opportunities for you to raise your hand. And
Thanks, everybody here. We're all set?
Yes, yep. Mayor, whenever you are ready, sir.
All right. The meeting come to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Doug, call the roll, please.
Councilwoman Rami Rice.
Here.
Councilman Bougain.
Present.
Councilwoman Organ.
Here.
Councilman Kaplan.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Katz.
Here.
And Mayor Dunleavy.
Here.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by resolution number 265-2021, sending a copy to the newspapers officially designated for 2022 by way of resolution number 4-2022, filing a copy in the township clerk's office and posting it on the municipal building bulletin board, and the mayor hereby directs that this statement be included in the minutes.
Thank you very much, Doug, and good evening, everybody. Welcome. I have just a few announcements. This evening, those from Township Administration who are present tonight are Dean Kaczynski, our Township Manager, Doug Roussillon, our Township Clerk, Ron Goodman, our volunteer cablecaster. Clarence Barnes is back at the shop and he's getting something ready. We'll tell you about it in a minute. The building maintenance. And John Shadanian from the law firm of McCusker and Salmi Rosen and Carvelli. The next televised council meeting will take place on Tuesday, on Thursday, rather, March 17th. Right now, that barring any changes in the numbers, we will be back into council chambers for the meeting on April 26th. We're very excited to say that finally. So hopefully if the numbers stay as they are and we're good, we will be back in council chambers on April 26th. The council met in closed session to discuss the following: advisory board interviews, COVID update, energy aggregation, shared services, emergency services, Arts Commission, 2022 budget, legal issues and our opinions regarding any items in open session agenda, litigation updates, and Oprah. All right, so tonight we start off with some presentations. The first one we have is 2021 Teaneck Chamber of Commerce Youth Achievement Award from the Teaneck Youth Advisory Board. I'm not sure who's going to be taking that.
I believe some of our adult advisors are here this evening. And if they are, please raise your hand. We have a lot of people here. All right, there it is. Hang on, let me scroll to the top of the queue. I'm bringing in Mr. Shay Lewis, Mr. Karan G, two very close colleagues of mine.
Just want to.
And here's Mr. Dwayne Harley also. Karan, good to see you. Shay, really good to see you. Dwayne, good to see you in just a minute also.
Thank you.
Good
and
evening. How you doing? Thank you.
Happy Tuesday.
I think Kasai, our chair person, should also be on as well, if you can bring her on.
Oh, here she is.
Yes, she is. Everybody's moving around so quick.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to be here.
Hi,
Hi,
Kazai. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having us today.
Okay. So, the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Okay, so I wanted to speak out of my heart. I do not have anything written or prepared for tonight, but I wanted to thank the Township for all of their support and energy, and above all, to all of the youth advisory adult advisors who have helped me throughout the course of the last 5 years I've worked with them. Mr. Harley, Mr. G, I appreciate you all so very much. Mr. Lewis, Councilwoman Rice, I appreciate you all. I've been in Youth Advisory Board for, I want to say, around a good 5 years, since 8th grade. And during my time, it's been filled of such wonder and so many learning experiences that I couldn't have acquired anywhere else. And so behalf on every member of the Teaneck Youth Advisory Board, who has also been given the same opportunities as I have to lead, we thank you. We thank you for your support. We thank you for your time tonight. We thank you for this award. I really appreciate all of you. And we're very excited to do what we do best, which is, of course, to amplify the voice of the students. And we look forward to speaking with you and meeting with you again. Thank you so, so much, everyone.
Well, thank you, Kazai, and thank you, Shay and Karan and messing up my screen here. I'm sorry. And Dwayne for the work that you do. It's a great group. You do a lot of great things for the kids, and I know anytime I've talked to anybody, they absolutely appreciate and love what you've been doing.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we certainly appreciate it. You know, the kids, our scholars, they work incredibly hard throughout the year. So, you know, we just thank you guys for taking the time this evening to recognize them for all of their hard work. It really is appreciated. Thank you.
And thanks again to the Chamber of Commerce for acknowledging our students.
Okay. Councilmember Rice?
You're muted, Ms. Rice.
Yes, also add that to, as Shay said, the appreciation to the Chamber. And in addition to the Chamber's award, the students also received recognition from the county. So they have a number of different proclamations. And I also want to shout out the advisors, because it's not always easy working with students where you want to make sure, as Kasai said, that their voices are amplified. So these gentlemen certainly make sure that the children are, I shouldn't say children, the young adults are certainly leading and guiding their issues, their concerns, which is really unique because it gives them an opportunity to learn and grow. So I really applaud them and their efforts to allow the students to really have their voice heard and to kind of just scaffold and support their ideas. And, much success, continued success as we continue to recruit students to be a part of this great group. And thank you again, gentlemen, for your leadership, your time and dedication, because you guys meet very often. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you again, Youth Advisory Board. And Mayor, I also just want to add that it's been a very distinct pleasure working so closely with the young adults there and our adult advisors. The fact that they were able to get their annual civics event up during the pandemic was a very impressive feat. They all worked really hard on it. And I think that they're doing a really good job to try and bridge the gap between local government and local community. And I want to thank them for allowing me to help out any way I can.
Great. Well said, Doug. Well said. Okay, moving on. We have another presentation. Welcome to Teaneck Cake Portraits. I don't know if anyone is going to be introducing them or.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor. Recently, during a walk and talk through Teaneck, we were able to come upon a new business. And as you mentioned, we're coming back to live meetings as we are moving into our new normal post-pandemic, and just trying to find ways that we can support our local businesses to not only just survive, but thrive, especially those that got started in the pandemic. So I wanted to share out and introduce to the community a new business, Cake Portraits. And I believe we have the proprietor, Kathy John, with us tonight, and they're located at 1545-1543 Teaneck Road. Are you there, Kathy? Hopefully, Doug, that you can elevate her.
Yeah, I did. Can everyone see the presentation that she just put on the screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
It looks like you don't even need my help. I was talking with her before the meeting and she was talking about help me. And I was like, you make all these cakes. I think I could use more help from you than you from me. But can you unmute whenever you're ready? Let me see if I can. You're still muted, my friend Kathy. Oh, there you are.
You guys can hear me perfect. All righty. So first, I'd like to say thank you to Councilwoman Javon Romney Rice, Karen Oregon, as well as Deputy Mayor Mark Swartz. They came by the bakery and they invited us to be here. So thank you very much for that opportunity to introduce Cake Portraits. So as Councilwoman Rice said, we are located at 1543 as well as 1545 Teaneck Road, and we're right across from the Early Bird Laundromat. So just a little bit about Cake Portraits. We are a Black-owned women business, and me personally, I have worked in food service management for the last 20 plus years, and I decided to venture into, I guess, call it a hobby first that I've turned into a business. So right now we are basically like happy, I guess, to be, in Teaneck, and we're hoping to serve the community and become the community, I guess, bakery. So a little bit about our services we offer. So this is just a snapshot. If you guys want to take a screen grab of it and just have it in your back pocket, so to speak, and keep going on. So this is just a little bit of our work. So we do wedding cakes for any events. This one here is like one of our customer favorites. Once they come into the store, they usually comment on it. And I'll give you a few pictures of our cupcakes. We have a large variety that we offer daily. This is a snapshot of our showcase here. We offer cookies, cupcakes, and so my background is actually Caribbean. So we have a selection of fruit cakes, the Caribbean rum cake. We have the Caribbean fruit cake. We also have different treats as well as fruit cake cookies. And just as, I guess, a welcome to the community, something that we're offering. One of the things we're really hoping to do is to join with other businesses, be it for-profit, non-for-profit, I guess the community itself, we're just hoping, to meet everyone as they stop in, and as to show our appreciation. We'd like you guys to come visit. If you spend $10, you get a free cupcake on us, and we hope to see everyone soon. So thank you guys, and please stop in, please. And thank you guys very much for having us here.
Thank you so much, Kathy. And Mayor, as I said, would really like to find a way that we could perhaps highlight various different businesses, new businesses in particularly, that are really trying to get themselves started, and just increase our local, spending our local dollars locally and supporting our local businesses that will truly are the foundation of our local community. So look forward to supporting and highlighting some other businesses. As we move into the warmer months, opportunities to kind of perhaps even have a restaurant week or support your local business week, and making sure that our downtown areas, our Teaneck Road, our Cedar Lane, all of our business districts be able to thrive as they come out of this pandemic. And that concludes that section. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks for coming, Kathy.
Thank you.
You're on mute, Jim, Mayor.
And best of luck.
Yes.
Councilmember Rice, could you do me a favor? Can you send to Dean and I the couple of those comments? Because some of those things we might be able to incorporate into the newsletter that we're going to be
Absolutely.
doing, where we can highlight a new business. Dean?
Yeah, so I just wanted to mention pre-COVID, we did, I think, quite a few ribbon cuttings, and our community development officer or zoning would notify us of new businesses. So I did speak to Mr. Melfi today about that, and Adam Miska to notify me of whenever any COs are issued, so we can do our due diligence and recognize these new businesses, housing locations, and we have the proper ribbon cutting and advertisement of them at a council meeting. And just quickly with Teaneck Day, September 18th, again, the theme is going to be to get some of the restaurants, food establishments involved in Teaneck Day, where we're utilizing the entire Rhoda Center, both gyms, to have a showcase of local food. And that would be, we're trying to help out the Taste of Teaneck organization that had to cancel the event due to COVID. So there'll be some opportunities coming up, Council Member Rice, where we can put some of these businesses and showcase some of these businesses. But I'll certainly report to council when it's the information is given to me from our community development officer.
Mr. Manager, may you, just for the convenience of council and the public and myself, just remind everyone when Teaneck Day is?
September 18th, Sunday, September 18th.
Thank you so much, Dean, for that. I think that that's going to really present a great opportunity with that information to be able to share it out. Thank you.
Okay. All right, moving on. Work session items. Miscellaneous. Old business. New business. Councilmember Organ.
I would like to nominate Brian Jacobs to the PPRAB.
Second, Schwartz.
Second. All those in favor? All right, so his name will be put in nomination, and his name will be brought in for appointment at the April 5th meeting. Okay, thank you. Communications, Penn Avenue residents retrees. Anybody want to take that?
Sure, Mr. Mayor. I had included, the manager had forwarded over to me, we were discussing the issue of the trees on Penn Avenue. And, we had heard from some people, but none of them happened to live on Penn Avenue, about the trees. And the manager said that he had received several emails. And since then, I have received several as well. And I just wanted to include it in the correspondence file. I think it would be nice to get a follow-up from council, but they were extremely appreciative of the concern that the township took for the residents on Penn Ave. They especially spoke about Dean and how much his personal involvement as the manager meant to the residents there. And while certainly none of them wanted, the end result of lack of trees, his follow-up and attention to detail was absolutely life-saving and life-changing for a lot of them. And they expressed that in the email, and I'd encourage the public to take a look at it. There were many that came in, but this was emblematic of the general theme.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other committee reports by council liaisons?
Mr. Mayor?
Reports?
Yes, briefly, the planning board acted on the ordinance that was sent to the council as it relates to the H zone that'll be discussed momentarily under ordinances. And that was approved unanimously. The Cedar Lane Management Group is preparing for their Memorial Day event and is reaching out to the selected honorees to honor them as well. That will be outside, live, and in person. Thankfully, we've moved on. And lastly, the parking committee, I thank the council for approving the quick mobile park mobiles contract with the town, which will start working on our existing meter parking spots to replace the units. And going forward, we can have a council discussions on any other parking designs that apps and part payment will help with. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other committee or liaison reports?
Yes, Mr.
Deputy Mayor Katz, go ahead.
And I'll ask Deputy Mayor Schwartz to ride shotgun with me on this one. So we had a zoning subcommittee meeting. It was very, very packed agenda. We discussed the outdoor dining. We just specifically discussed and met with one of the merchants that has an outdoor dining facility. We discussed the 100 State Street and how to proceed with a potential buyer. We discussed the additional need for some type of ordinance change for the soap factory. We discussed Alfred Avenue and the new potential building that's going to be put there. We discussed the whole Stop and Shop and the settlement and the potential development there. And we discussed the hospital, and we discussed as well. I think that's it, Deputy Mayor Schwartz. And then I left.
Oh, you left. There's two things if I can add on.
Yeah.
One, the zoning. So we discussed outdoor dining and what we're looking to take. The planners working on a holistic approach to outdoor dining for the entire town. So that's something the planner's been charged with, drawing up guidelines to then submit to the council. And lastly, Teaneck Road and West Englewood Avenue, we discussed potentially looking that as an area in need of, and I was happy to then thereby escort various members of the council on a walk and talk on Saturday to take a look at some rentals and some buildings that were almost looked like car dealerships on their front lawns as we continue to look at those areas in need of redevelopment, but no formal action is being taken yet. Tonight, the only formal
just to
action.
be clear, the West Englewood was not the merchant side; it was the residential side.
Sorry, I apologize. Teaneck Road in West Englewood. Yes.
Right.
And lastly, the only action tonight stemming from that is we're going to have a resolution for that 359 Alfred Avenue to have the planner take a look at that particular site to see if it qualifies as an area in need of redevelopment, which we took separate walks and talks down there as well. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Any other reports from anybody? Liaison reports? No? Okay. All right, moving on. Council listed items. Number 1, murals.
I believe our friend Natalia. Oh, there, she raised her hand. Raise it one more time, please. Oh, I'll find you. I believe Miss Natalia has something to share with council. Natalia, can you please raise your hand so I can make sure I have the right person? Oh, there it is. Oh, wait. keep it. There it is. She's coming in. Give her 1 minute. Natalia, you are free to unmute whenever.
Hello, everybody. Hi.
Hi, Natalia.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me on this webinar tonight. I wanted to discuss with you guys creating a mural on Queen Anne Road, where it's facing Voti Park, where Chubby's hair barber is. And do you guys know what I'm talking about? That area?
Yes.
Yeah. So I want to do a mural there, and it's at no expense to the town. I just always wanted to do this since I was a kid. I grew up here, and I hate white walls. I really do. It's one of the only things that I hate is white walls. So I want to paint it. And this is my idea for painting it. Where's that? Do you guys see that?
No.
You need to hit there at the bottom of your screen, Natalia. There's a big green button that says share screen. Hit that button and we'll be able to see what's on your screen.
Okay. Here we go.
Hey.
I want to do this on that wall.
Cool.
Right over there. And this is what it would look like on the wall. This is a photo mock-up of what I propose to do. And the purpose is that in Teaneck, we're all so different and unique. And that's what we all love about Teaneck, is that it's a place where we could all just be, and we could all be different, and we all come together. And no matter, how the seasons change and how different we are, we're all in one forest, which is like Teaneck. So I want to do this mural showing the various seasons, but also different leaves and snow and, flowers and all the different seasons in one forest. Because no matter what, we have the good people of this town. And I just want to give back. And it's like on my bucket list. I just check it off, So that's what I would like to do. If you guys would let me, that would be really awesome. It would look really cool. Look, it would look really cool.
So May, this is the location, as I mentioned, just north of, on Queen Anne Road, just north of Court Street. There's a long wall. It's painted white right now. And I just want to give you everyone just an idea of exactly where Natalia is considering. I certainly love the positive energy, but it's just north of Court Street. It's an all white wall right now, privately owned.
Okay. So what is it that at this point she needs from us?
Permission. And the guy who owns it, he said it would be fine with him because it beautifies the town, but it has to be okay with you guys. Like, you guys have to say, like, this is all right. She has permission to do this.
Mr. Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Katz.
So I'm familiar with this building. Actually, it's not mine. But I will say I have concerns about murals. I think we've been getting a lot of feedback about murals, in the last couple of years, and I'm hesitant to say anything about about public property and allowing murals on public property. based on some of the feedback we've been getting. But in this case, it is a private property, and we did allow such a thing. And I don't know what the circumstance was, but it went through the council when they did it on Rocklands, and they had to present it to the council. So I don't know if this is something you want to refer to the zoning subcommittee or to the zoning officer to come up with some type of guidelines. But it's really, I guess, you know, if it keeps coming to the council, it's really the council that's saying we think that this is appropriate, even though it's on private property. But if the council, if there were 4 council members that felt that they wanted to move forward with murals, I would suggest that we do it on private, allow it only on private property, and refer to zoning of how you want to handle it in the future.
So it sounds like then we don't have really any guidelines. Did you have any guidelines to use with Rocklands?
One more thing I just wanted to make, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. I did want to say that I'm very familiar with Natalia, and she is a burst of wonderful creative energy, and I'm appreciative that she wants to enhance our community. And we agree, we don't like white walls or padded walls. Thank you.
Thanks,
Any
Ellie.
other comments? Any other comments from council? All right, so if I understood you correctly, Deputy Mayor, there wasn't really any hard and fast guidelines with respect to what you used for Rocklands?
No, I just remember them making a presentation in front of the council. And, you know, like one council member said, can you add this? Can you change this? Can you fix that? You know, and that's how it evolved.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I think it's beautiful. I think it's something great to be facing the park. I don't know that we need to take 3 steps if there are 4 people that are happy with it. I don't think it's controversial in any way. I think it's just a nature scene of the 4 seasons. I don't know why we would send it to a subcommittee to then come back to us if it needs 4 votes. I don't, you know, if there are 4 people that are happy with it or not.
No, I don't disagree. I think there's 2 parts to my comment. I think the first part was, you know, if it's the council's feelings that this is good, then I agree. I would support something like this. Although I don't know if I can actually vote on it personally because of the distance of my property. But I was talking about the general. If you know, is it that we always going to have people coming to the council? Not that we've had a ton. You know, and when they want to do a mural on private property, should we even come up, should we have guidelines, or maybe that should be the guideline?
Well, let me suggest something here. And I think I agree with you, Deputy Mayor, that we should have guidelines. But there are times when art has to pass the sniff test, and that's the eye test. So is there anyone here who objects to this mural?
I think it's
Okay.
I think it's terrific.
Yeah, so I think from the standpoint of this mural, we are okay with it. But I do appreciate Deputy Mayor's comments about, you know, when the next one comes up, how are we to decide if that one's okay? So that's something that we're going to have to work on. Councilman Organ and then Councilwoman Rice.
Can we just get a sign off from the zoning officer to make sure that he's okay with it? A mural different from a sign?
Yes, I actually spoke to Mr. Melfi today. He was doing a little research and had just referred something to me back in 2011, a mural that was painted, but he wants to do a little more research, and I'll have a report for council probably by tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Rice?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to ask a question. Is this something that would involve community members as a community project, or would this be something that you, Natalia, would be doing alone? Just curious as to your process.
I would do it alone, but if people wanted to help, that would be cool too. I have lots of students, but they're very busy this summer. So, I mean, it's just me and I, or whoever wants to help.
Only because these opportunities may present a community engagement opportunity. So, I think that's a possibility.
I am an art teacher. I'm the art teacher at Maya Note, so I could always teach people what to do, how to do it, and and teach them different techniques to use, and then they'll always have them.
Yeah,
All
just
right,
thought that,
so-
just wanted to ask that question. Thank you.
Okay,
I'm definitely
so
up for that too.
it appears that we're pending what Dean sends us from Mr. Melfi, that we are good to go with this. Am I correct? I think that's what I got from everybody. Okay. All right. So Dean, if you could send us whatever he finds out, and then we'll make the judgment at that time, but pending something onerous, we're probably okay with this.
Very good. I'll have that tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you.
Yay! Thank you guys so much for hearing me out. And I hope you guys have a wonderful night. And
You too.
Thank you.
Thanks, Natalia.
Bye.
Take care, Natalia.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Natalia.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, commercial vehicles parked in residential driveways. Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
Yes, and I put this on there because I don't want this to get missed. And Councilman Kaplan, maybe if you wanted to weigh in, we have some rules that talk about about not parking commercial vehicles in your driveway, which in theory I understand, but now it's leading to people calling police because frankly, they don't like the plumber next door parking his van on the street. I'm sorry, in his driveway. Now the guy's running, he has a plumbing van, and I have a plumbing company in the city, and my guys sometimes take their trucks home. And it's not like we're parking an 18-wheeler in a driveway. So I'd like the ordinance committee to take a look and see how we can modify that to accommodate our trade workers that need to put various commercial vehicles in their driveway. Councilman Kaplan, do you have anything to add to that?
I do very quickly, just to tell you the
Please.
genesis of where we are. In the 50s and through the 70s, the major issue people had, they did not like the idea of commercialism intruding on private property. So they did not allow, even if you had a truck that said, John's Towing, and you parked it in your own driveway, they made you cover the sign that said John's Towing. You could not have commercial speech at all in any way, shape, or form. Our current rules fall into two categories. One rule says if your truck is more than 6.5 feet high or more than 20 feet long, you can't park it in certain times in residential areas. The other rule says if you have like a standard pickup, the same exact pickup your neighbor would have, but it has commercial writing on it, it should be covered up or kept under wraps. If I'm hearing Deputy Mayor Schwartz correctly, and what the neighbors were talking about is if you happen to have the exact same type of truck, which would fall under that under 6.5 feet or under 20 feet long. In other words, your typical residential type vehicle, but it happens to be used for commercial. They want to be able to park it in their driveway overnight without removing the writing on it or covering it up. I think that's, a legitimate topic for council to discuss and decide. But, I don't think it needs, for that very small change going to any subcommittee. I think we could do that amongst ourselves, perhaps at a next meeting when we can all, take a look at the ordinance and see what it is. But I'm happy to go either way on that.
Mr. Mayor,
Katz.
I was actually going to suggest that this go to the zoning subcommittee, but I happen to agree with both Councilmember Kaplan and Deputy Mayor Schwartz. I think this is an antiquated ordinance. I do recall the time when the woman from Rensselaer who was on 24-hour emergency response for PSE&G had her vehicle in her driveway, and she was unfortunately bothered by some of the neighbors. And it was like, it was really, you felt like, I don't know, you felt helpless, like you couldn't do anything. And I think especially now, am I allowed to say after COVID. Maybe we're not there after yet, but we're still, people are working more at home, and their home has become their office. I think it's important that we review these guidelines and alter it to be a little bit more fitting for today's times.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, even COVID or no COVID, more and more people are working out of their homes and starting their own businesses. And they need that kind of flexibility. And look, if they have a truck, we certainly want them off the streets in a snowstorm. So I think this would be a good idea to take a look at that.
All right.
Does anybody have an objection to the zoning committee taking a look and bringing back something to us? No? Okay, go ahead. All right, we're good with that? All right, moving on. Proclamation for Women's History Month. Councilman Kaplan.
Yes, Mr. Mayor,
Hello?
if you, can you hear me? Hello?
We can hear you, Councilman Kaplan. I think the mayor.
I think the mayor is frozen.
I can hear you
We
now.
hear you. 3 minutes.
Got it. Well, it will be
I'm
quicker
frozen.
than that. But I wanted to mention because, having a wife, 3 girls living here, I am no stranger to the monumental tasks that women do on a daily basis. And, we as the council have had so many tremendous council members, volunteers, and others that have come from all walks of life through the municipality. I started to take a look at who the women were that served on the council, and Councilwoman Organ had asked me who the first councilwoman was. Turns out it was Eleanor Killichuk, and not only was she elected in 1970 with over 5,000 votes, which is a stellar number, but she was reelected in 1974, 1978, 1982, 1986, 1988, when we went to staggered elections, 92 and 96. And she wound up serving for over 30 years. Before that, she was on the planning board. And I really wanted to put in their names to the resolution. And if you take a look, it's on page 20 of our packet. It goes through all the women, including 2 that are before us, and recognize the tremendous accomplishments and work that they put in for our township. So if there is approval, I'd like to put the proclamation in for our consent agenda and recognize March 2022 as Women's History Month in Teaneck.
Anybody have an objection? Okay.
Is that to include in this evening, Councilman Kaplan?
Yes.
So just for everyone's reference, then, that would be resolution 79-2022, if he receives a second.
Second.
Have a second?
Oh, well, we have to wait to.
Go ahead. Yeah. Javon second.
Jumping the gun.
That's okay. Javon seconds. Okay.
Happy to receive it.
All right.
We'll add it to the consent agenda. I'll be sure to remind everyone when we get there.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. It's amazing one side of the room. Next, resolution. Teaneck stands with you, the Ukraine against communist aggression by Russia. Councilman Kaplan.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Really quickly, we all saw the images that were coming out of Ukraine, and I was very proud to stand with our council at a vigil where we talked about what was happening. And, it's very difficult to see liberty-loving people all across the globe that are literally under the gun. There were images just this week of a maternity ward, and as we recognize women here here, they're literally being bombed in Ukraine. So there have been very few times in Teaneck's history where we took a stand on something outside of our borders. All of them have dealt with either extending Nazi war crimes or talking about fascism and its creeping into spheres of people that are liberty-loving incursions. And I felt that this was such a time that the President of the United States is putting forth resolutions and actions, especially to keep oil prices down here because of the ramifications in the worldwide market, that one of the things that this resolution calls for is the Attorney General of New Jersey to ensure that companies here are doing what the president said in his speech the other week and not raising prices for profits, which can wind up hurting U.S. interests abroad. At least it's something we can ask our Attorney General to do, and it also recognizes the victims of communist aggression in various places across the globe. So if there's a second for this one as well, I'd like to include that in the consent agenda and have it voted on later.
Is there a second?
Second, Schwartz.
Second, Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
Mr. Mayor,
Deputy Mayor Katz.
listen, there was two parts to that request, and there was the local part, how it affects the local residents, and then there was the way that it's written here on the agenda. Listen, there is nobody that is more concerned, bothered, that I know about this war in Ukraine than I. Honestly, I spoke to my kids. I was at one point, and I mean, think about even like seeing how I can volunteer and go. I didn't know what to do. I was wake up every morning. This is the first thing I do. But with that said, I've always been against ordinances or resolutions that has to deal with national and international politics. I think it sets a very, very slippery slope. It's not listen, it's not like we're going to be changing the world with these resolutions, but we will be changing the council and the way people come to us asking us to be getting involved in their very important cause or belief. And it's very important to them. And then it becomes an entire political hot potato where it really monopolizes every one of our council meetings because they feel that they need their resolution passed in this council agenda, and then we don't get the good work of the residents done because we have to listen to 30 people why they're for this or against this and this and that. So I've really always been against these I don't know what the word is, but these resolutions that don't really have direct impact on changing the lives of our residents. Yes, they are symbolic. I guess the symbolic ones. They are symbolic, and certainly we all are against. I hope that we're all against this war. But I don't think that we should be bringing this into our council chambers, not because of this specific issue, but because of all the unknown future ones that can open up the Pandora's box. Next thing you know, we're getting sued because we were not in favor of whatever was happening in Kardashian or whatever it was. And we have to give up all the time and listen, etc. So for that reason, I can't be against this resolution, but I won't be voting for this resolution.
I agree with Deputy Mayor Katz, and I'm not sure if he had a chance to fully go through it, but one of the things that it does is speak of the victims of the aggression, and it does not address the conflict itself. I've made very careful attention that it doesn't speak to the actual conflict. It speaks to the people involved, because I think promoting interests of liberty and denouncing aggression is something that Teaneck has always stood for and will always stand for, while getting ourselves involved in geopolitics is not. So the only part that actually deals with geopolitics is supporting the president in our request to ask the New Jersey Attorney General to monitor gas prices, but the rest is speaking to the remembering the victims of aggression resolution and ensuring that New Jersey does what we can
Keith,
to help
like I
people
said,
in
it's
conflict.
it's not something you could punch holes in. You're right, but it's
Yep.
still an international issue that we don't change. You know, like what will happen when someone comes to the council meeting and says that Israel is being aggressive and we should be doing a resolution against Israel because of whatever happens, etc.
And to be
Where will
clear,
your position be then?
I agree with you, and I think if this were a resolution against Russia, you would absolutely be right, but it's not. And I was very careful to sidestep a lot of those issues, and I hope I did that. And if council feels that I did, then I hope you'll second it. If not, I understand the concern. But that was something that I was very careful. I did not condemn Russia in there, although personally I would, but that's not a matter for Teaneck to take a stance on. I absolutely agree with you, Deputy Mayor.
And just as a reminder, we did hold a vigil for the Ukrainian people. So we did put our mark in the stand in support of them not being killed and not being run out of their homes and not having the types of things that are happening to them now. We've already done that.
As well, we should. My comments were more towards the symbolic resolutions on a national or international level, and where do we start, where do we end, and who decides who's speaking for who in Teaneck.
Okay. Further discussion? I think it's been seconded, if I recall, right? Councilmember Rice, did you second this? Or did you, Karen? Karen, you did? Okay, so it's, go ahead. Karen,
No,
go ahead.
So I've only been here for a couple of years and I don't know what the precedent has been, but we did pass a resolution against Armenian genocide. I don't know what other, what other resolutions we've passed globally, but there should be a decision so this doesn't happen again. Some things are so wrong and so right, they appear black and white and you want to support them, and that is what this is. As well as Armenian genocide. But at the same time, I hear what the deputy mayor is saying. So I don't know. I'm torn. Whatever it is, we should come to a decision.
And I agree with Councilwoman Organ. Being against the Armenian genocide is not the same as being against the current country that committed the genocide against Armenia. And I think remembering the victims is something that's very important to a township, especially with those people living here.
Other comments about this resolution? Okay. So then at this point, it would be number
Resolution 80.
2022. I'm going to, because there seems to be quiet here and there seems to be some back and forth. All right. I'm going to make a motion to table.
Second.
Okay. With the idea that maybe we can get some criteria to make people comfortable with this. Because I wouldn't want, frankly, I don't want this to look like a split vote, frankly. I'd rather it, it's a full-throated thing. So,
I mean, to be fair, I think that Deputy Mayor Katz is the only person, and his is not an objection to the document itself. If I'm hearing him correctly, it's just a philosophical objection to council doing that at all at any time. And if I'm reading that correctly, if he wishes to abstain because that's his thought on this, I completely understand. And
all right, I don't mean to interrupt you, Councilman Kaplan. There is a motion to table.
There is.
Right
My
now,
apologies.
with a second, there's no discussion. It has to go immediately to a vote.
Sorry, sir.
I'm surprised Mr. Rupp didn't cut me off already. And
yeah, I'm surprised I didn't either. I'm tired.
I'm surprised Councilman Kaplan didn't know that.
He did.
All right, so we have a motion and it's seconded to table the motion. All in favor of tabling the motion, raise your hands. Okay, so it dies. All right. So we're back to the main motion of the resolution, and that has been seconded. So at this point, it is on the agenda, number 80, 2022. And we can vote as we want to vote when we get there. Okay? Okay. Next item, correspondence, update to zoning ordinance for side-facing driveways in front of homes. Councilman Kaplan.
Yes, a resident wrote in, we have two ordinances that appear to be in somewhat conflict. There's one that says if you have a double wide garage or triple wide, your driveway can be up to 20 feet wide. And we have another ordinance that says if you're doing side yard paving, if the side yard paving involves a driveway, it should be a standard 12-foot driveway until you get to the turning radius where it could be larger. That works for anyone with a garage in the middle or the back of their home. You know, the idea being you go down the driveway and then you turn, sideways to get into the garage. It becomes an issue when people put the garage in the front of their house, because if the driveway was facing the street, you can have it 20 feet wide straight up to the driveway. But if the driveway faces a 90-degree angle, now you have one rule that says up to 20 feet wide, depending on whether the garage, but you have another rule that says, well, technically speaking, since it faces sideways, it's now a side yard. So if there's no objection, I'd like the zoning subcommittee to take a quick look at this and come back with a recommendation. It seems like a very de minimis issue for someone with a garage in the front of their house that would be allowed, if it faced the street anyway, to be up to 20 feet wide, to have a similar driveway just because it's facing sideways.
Discussion? Is there any objection to giving this to the zoning committee to bring us back with something? Okay. Zoning committee, you got it. All right. Last code update, Councilman Kaplan.
Yes. So in addition to the wonderful job that our clerk has done in making sure our code is now up to date, there's a provision in our code that has requesting all of our department heads to provide requests for updates to the council. And I had brought up to the manager to request those, and they're supposed to be done for April. So I just wanted to mention it now. And the stated provision was so that if over the course of the past year, any of the department heads found that some of the ordinances were constantly getting variances, or were a little old, or something, like Deputy Mayor Katz mentioned, an anachronistic ordinance about signage, those can be fixed by council. And I also wanted to extend that to the public. If you notice anything that we should take a look at in this season that we're updating ordinances, that council should be able to take a look at those and make things a little better and easier for residents.
Okay. Well, didn't sound like there was any action in there, right?
No action, just to mention that it's happening, and to the extent action is needed, just to make sure the manager is requesting those from the various department heads so they can come back to us.
Okay. All right, Township Manager's report. Dean?
Thank you, Mayor. Again, before I provide my report, I just want to quickly mention that we did experience some formatting difficulties when I presented the budget to council last Thursday, the PowerPoint presentation. Just so the public knows, so there's no confusion, the 2022 budget stands at $76,782,698 with a proposed municipal tax increase of 1.7%. So I just wanted to make sure everyone was clear on that number. I know one of the slides was not formatted correctly and may have had the wrong number. So it's $76,782,698 with a proposed 1.7% increase. Getting to COVID, There are minimal, if any, patients currently at Holy Name, which is great news. All is going well internally with our employees' health here. All buildings in the library remain open without any restrictions. Sticking with Holy Name, over 650 telephone calls in support of the Holy Name project were placed to the administrative offices over the last several days. We continue work on the new police dispatch center. As mentioned, we're going to have, I've reported to the public several times, we're going to have a state-of-the-art communication center that will make Teaneck a public safety answering point again to handle all incoming 911 calls. I'm really looking forward to this project. We're probably about 4 to 5 months away from completion. All of our dispatchers, public safety telecommunicators will be retrained, if not already, with 911 dispatch, and I think it will be a tremendous benefit to our residents. Renovations at Fire Station 4 are currently underway. We brought in a mobile trailer today, and this is for temporary housing while the work takes place. We're also looking to purchase gear extractors. That's out to bid, and the award is going to be listed, I believe, for April 5th on the April 5th agenda. Really, the extractor, and this is something that the fire department has sorely needed. The extractor is a soft-mounted turnout gear washer that's programmed to meet NFPA compliance, making the firefighter PPE safer and last longer. So looking forward to that. Work continues on the renovation of the council chambers. This includes fresh paint, new carpeting, repairs to the corner of the back wall and the front corner by the dais. And we'll also make repairs to that hole that is in the ceiling in the hallway foyer area and the wall against the staircase. Again, we were able to do this now because the roof has been replaced, the gutters have been replaced, and no water is coming into the building, which is great news. The township's in the process of scarifying the baseball fields on a regular basis. 2 sets of dugouts and VOT are scheduled to be replaced at TBO in a 90-foot field. There's going to be some fence repair done as well. DPW has assured me that they're going to make some extra visits to empty the garbage cans in the area of our parks and finalizing our field maintenance mowing schedule for the upcoming year. Again, we're going to outsource half of those fields and baseball fields to an outside contractor, and that will significantly improve service and make these fields in excellent condition during the playing season. I recently met with members of the Teaneck Road Business Community Alliance, and that was to discuss a ribbon cutting ceremony for the Teaneck Road Streetscape project. That was delayed due to COVID. We're going to plan on the ceremony for May 15th between the hours of 3 p.m. and 6 p.m., and it will take place in the Beverage Street Municipal Lot. More information will follow as we get a little closer to the event. We're going to be moving forward with the fence installation at the burial ground in April. We have a vendor and have secured the services for this split rail fence. We're finalizing negotiations with the city of Hackensack for fire dispatching. And we're also discussing, they call it automatic aid, which would allow for an immediate dual response to any structure fire, meaning once Hackensack handles our fire dispatching, if they get a call about a structure fire in Teaneck, not only are the residents in Teaneck getting a full response from our fire department, you're going to get apparatus from the city of Hackensack immediately and vice versa. So this will be a tremendous benefit to not only our residents, but Hackensacks as well. Again, as Councilman Kaplan brought up some of the emails regarding Penn Avenue tree removal, I just wanted to read one of the communications my office and the mayor received. Really, to summarize it, it was from a resident. He said, "The good people of Penn Avenue are thankful that you heard us through such a great and destructive storms to help us navigate a very trying time towards better days ahead. Truly appreciate all the communication, diligence, and caring by council and the manager along the way." And the quote is, "And oh man, does it feel good to be back in our house again under these much improved circumstances. We never slept so good. Thank you so much for all your efforts and caring. It will always be truly appreciated and hopefully greatly recognized by the town as what good government looks like." So I just wanted to bring that up because I know we're getting criticized for that project. But as I mentioned, speak to the residents of Penn Avenue, especially those that had their homes destroyed by a fallen tree. Our 2021 road resurfacing project, and we're always a year behind, that's going to commence in the spring. Over the past 4 years, we resurfaced 103 streets, including the municipal parking lot. We plan on doing another 30 plus streets this year. Again, it's all contingent upon the cost of asphalt, and hopefully we don't see a significant increase that will reduce the number of the number of the streets that we can take care of this year. Also good news, the state and the county have reviewed the township's emergency operations plan, and they approved the same. And I want to publicly thank Deputy OEM Coordinator Tom Smith. He's a retired Deputy Fire Chief of the Teaneck Fire Department for his efforts. He put a lot of time into this, and we recently received our approval from the county and the state. I made several promotions at the Department of Public Works recently. They include Joseph Newey, Steven Soto, Jose Alvarez to the title of truck driver, Vincent Duncan to the title of equipment operator, and the appointments of Brian Kistler and Andrew Martin to motor broom operators, all well-deserved promotions, and these gentlemen work very hard at our public works. I also appointed Erica Gardella and David Webster to the position of public safety telecommunicator trainee at the police department, and that became effective February 28th. That fills a couple of voids at police dispatch. I'm working and was contacted by the Bergen County Job Center, and we're going to make arrangements to have them come to Teaneck in April. This is a federally funded hiring incentive that's designed to assist unemployed workers in securing full-time employment. So once a date is set in April, I will publicize it, release it. It's a good resource for those that are looking for employment. I want to congratulate the Teaneck Food Pantry for receiving a grant from the Bergen County Food Security Task Force, which was originally founded by Commissioner Tracy Zohr. By my understanding, 46 municipalities are going to split over $500,000, and our food pantry in Teaneck is going to be the recipient of some of that money. Just a quick update on energy aggregation. This morning, I spoke to Doug and I spoke to representatives from Gable, the energy consultant. We're preparing a resolution for March 24th that's going to allow us to participate. They call it the ACES Plus Co-op for Energy Aggregation. The ACES Plus agreement is going to enable Teaneck to sign onto the ACES Plus program, which has already competitively procured Gable as its energy consultant. And the resolution is going to enable the township to approve both the ACES Plus participation and the working relationship with Gable. We still have our application into the SEA. Teaneck may not be a suitable choice for the SEA at this time. However, we're going to have from Gable, we're going to have Lauren Altschuler give a 10 to 15 minute public presentation at the April 5th meeting. A work schedule is in place with Gable, and we're following that timeline to put this program in place, whether it's with the SEA or ACES Plus sometime this fall. We also received our signed utility agreement from PS, and that determines our eligibility. And that, again, that agreement just confirms the township's intent to seek and establish a government energy aggregation program for the provision of electricity in Teaneck. Received some recent inquiries about the unsafe pedestrian crossing at Teaneck Road and Bougain Street last week. We were quickly able to place 2 solar LED pedestrian crossing signs at the intersection to provide greater visibility to those crossing. And this is just an example of information being brought to council's attention, to the manager's attention, and us having the resources to take quick and swift action to correct this situation, to make that pedestrian crosswalk a little safer. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Dean. Township Attorney's report.
Your Honor, I'm not going to belabor the upcoming issues that are everyone's here to listen to, I'm sure, tonight. So I'm going to dispense and indicate that there's no other attorney report. I will address any issues as they come up during the remainder of the meeting. And thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, move on to the formal meeting items, public hearing and adoption of ordinances. Clerk, if you could read the ordinances, please.
Yes, indeed, Mayor. We are considering, sorry, my agenda is a little out of whack here. We are considering 3 ordinances for second reading and final adoption this evening, March 15th, in the year of 2022. We have ordinance number 8-2022, authorizing a fire mutual aid and assistance agreement. We have ordinance number 9-2022 to amend and revise sections 33-22 and 24 of Article 5 zoning ordinance of Chapter 33 development regulations of the Township Code respecting the expansion of the Hospital H zoning district. Ordinance number 10-2022, amending Division 7 of Article 2, parking of Chapter 36, traffic of the Code of the Township of Teaneck relating to mobile telephone access parking spaces. Last but not least, we have ordinance number 11-2022, amending section 36-21, time limited parking to Division 3 limited parking, and section 36-14.1 of Division 2 prohibited parking of Article 2, parking of Chapter 36, traffic of the Township Code respecting time limited parking on a portion of Sackville Street. These are the 4 ordinances that we are second reading this evening, Mayor.
Thank you, Doug. Right, I'll ask the council now if they have anything they wish to mention at this time. Anybody have any comments before we open it up for a hearing? Okay, I have one item that I have to read. And it's in regards to a letter that we received from Planning Board and their review of the consistency of the ordinance for 9/2022. And in accordance with all the laws pertaining to that, they found that this code, this ordinance proposal is consistent with the goals and objectives of the master plan and the master plan reexamination. So that letter was sent to the entire council and has been read by the entire council, so they are aware of it. Okay, with that, we're going to open this up. And again, I want to remind the public that this public hearing is just for these ordinances. So your comments should be pertaining just to these ordinances and not any other ancillary comments that you want to make about other things. It's important that we do that in order to make sure that we get an idea of what everyone is thinking. I know there's a lot of people here this evening who want to talk with respect to one of the holy name ordinance. We're going to try and be as fair as possible and get as many people in as possible. Okay. So with that, Doug.
Yes, indeed, Mayor. Thank you for that intro. As our mayor so eloquently explained, this is the public portion for strictly ordinances 8, 9, 10, and 11. If your comments do not have to do with ordinance 8, 9, 10, 11-2022, please save them for the general good and welfare portion that will be taking place just after this. And like we all know, we have 3 minutes to speak with council, whether it be a question or a comment or a concern. And if your 3 minutes is up before you're able to finish your entire statement, please email it to me, your clerk, Doug Roussillon, at clerk@teanecknj.gov, and we'll be sure to distribute it to council. With that being said, we will open up the public portion. The first hand we saw was Mr. Paul Ostro, and I am bringing him in. Mayor Ostro, good evening. Whenever you are ready, Mayor Ostro, you are welcome to unmute.
I'm here. I'm surprised to be number one. I thank you, Doug. I wish you all a happy Purim and a happy St. Patrick's Day. And it's nice to be talking about healthcare and trees instead of bombings and savagery and warfare tonight. Mayor and Council, ordinance number 9-2022, you're about to memorialize is the culmination of 2 years of compromise and thoughtfulness. It is a living document subject to modifications and will benefit all that Holy Name serves. Holy Name Medical Center is poised to embark on a new era of care, compassion, and the delivery of healthcare services that will enhance the well-being and the lives of all the people of Teaneck and Northern Jersey. That's my statement. 1 minute. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Ostro. I'll be sure to bank your other 2 minutes. Now bringing in Hillary Goldberg.
How'd I do?
You did great, Paul. Hillary Goldberg, whenever you are ready, you are free to unmute.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Loud and clear. 3
Okay.
minutes.
Thank you. In an April 20th, 2020 email, Stephen Moser, Executive Vice President of Operations for Holy Name Hospital, sent an internal hospital email stating, send Schwartz Katz Price 2 options. Option A, which includes the deed restrictions and the elimination of the road that we will present with neighbor support, or option B, the same plan with the current road intact and no deed restriction. Despite 17 months of negotiations, as claimed by Deputy Mayor Mark Schwartz, the hospital never has any plans to actually negotiate with the neighbors. They had no need. As Richard Price had stated only 3 days later to Deputy Mayor Schwartz and Katz, quote, I personally and our office is frustrated and exhausted by the hospital's behavior and actions, and why allowing them to get their way imperils the neighborhood, the township, and most of all, the two of you and other members of the council who may be tempted to go along with them. It also illustrates that Teaneck holds all the cards, something they appear not to understand or appreciate, end quote. Teaneck held all the cards and you gave them away. You have your chance tonight to protect your constituents, the residents, the taxpayers at the last minute. Will you? Deputy Mayor Schwartz gave his word that he will not introduce any zoning ordinances in the future and that he will oppose any zoning ordinances in the future unless there is a signed deal between the parties. Mike Marin's autograph on a document is not an agreement, Mr. Schwartz. You were asked to recuse yourself. Councilwoman Organ was asked to recuse herself due to her conflict of interest with TVAC as it relates to Holy Name. Yet despite pleas from the voting constituents of Teaneck, he voted. You didn't recuse yourself, and here you are going to vote again for this major change without the support from the people this impacts. You gave away our entire hand. Here is your final chance to do the right thing. And if they don't, Teaneck, pay attention. It happened to them. It will happen to you. That's the end. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I am now bringing in Andrew Thomas. Mr. Thomas, whenever you're ready, you're free to unmute.
Hello.
Hello, Andrew. We can hear you loud and clear. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. My name is Andrew Thomas. I'm a professional planner in the state of New Jersey. I'm here on tonight on behalf of Mr. Rob Simon's clients. As to this ordinance, Ordinance 9-2022, I reviewed a letter dated March 14th, apparently submitted yesterday by Mr. Simon to the Township, which includes a markup of the zoning amendment with accompanying comments prepared by one of our clients. I reviewed the markup and comments and agree with the respective contents from a professional planning perspective. I also prepared a certification with exhibits that I understand was filed this morning with the Township pertaining to a protest petition in regard to the proposed ordinance to verify the percentage of property owners who signed the protest petition. With regard to that protest petition certification that was submitted, I determined based on my calculations that there was enough property owners who signed the petitions within the 200-foot buffer from the rezoning, and that it met the 20% minimum area burden as specified under NJSA 4055D-63, whereby the governing body would require a vote of 2/3 of all its members in order to adopt the ordinance. As far as the overall summary comment on the ordinance, it should be consistent with the land use amendment dated December 2021, where it specifically states on page 1, the amendment recommends both the expansion of the H hospital zone as well as changes to the current use and bulk standards. And it goes on to say, in consideration of preserving the character of the budding residential neighborhood. In my professional opinion, in order to protect the character of the adjacent single-family neighborhood, generally located south and west of the rezoning, this ordinance should not be adopted as currently written unless there's modifications made to the zoning ordinance to ensure that the adjacent neighborhood would be better protected. There's revisions required to the ordinance as set forth in the submitted ordinance markup and written comments to accomplish this goal of minimizing the impact of the residential neighborhood, including the impact of parking, hospital, and hospital operations to the residential units. In order to achieve that goal, there should be physical and visual separation and buffering provided. There's a few examples in the
You still with us, Andrew? You have 10 seconds left, Andrew. Are you still with us?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, I'm starting the clock. You have 10 seconds, sir.
Okay. So in order to achieve the goal, there should also be more physical and visual separation and buffering in order to discourage people from parking on the streets of adjacent residential neighborhoods and then walking to the hospital property, buildings of daycare.
Andrew, the 3 minutes were up. My email is clerk@teanecknj.gov. Please send over your comments if you wish to me. I'll be sure to get it to council. I'm now bringing in Judy Disler. Judy Disler, whenever you are ready, you are free to unmute.
Okay. I just want to start by saying that I think there are so many instances of expansion in every neighborhood in Teaneck with virtually no opportunities for residents to speak out. Holy Name Medical Center, though, has been a good neighbor and an important institution in Teaneck for more years than any of us have lived here. I agree with the description on their website that the hospital has, quote, a national reputation for providing culturally sensitive care to a diverse population. I think it's unique in that way. Holy Name's progress is, I believe, essential, and I want to express my support for its expansion and modernization. I believe it is in the best interests of Teaneck to allow this to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. I am bringing in May. Please state your name for the record when you get in.
Hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, May. Please state your name for the record.
Hi, my name is May Fuchs.
You have 3 minutes, May.
Okay, I just want to say, I've lived in Teaneck for about 5 years now. I'm a taxpayer and a voter who cares about the community in which I'm raising my son. He just started at Teaneck High School, and I'm very proud of that. I support Holy Name's expansion plan because the hospital needs to grow to continue to meet the needs of the community. We've seen other hospitals close and move out of their communities, including from the town which I previously lived. I've seen it happen. And we don't want that to happen here. I wouldn't want to have to commute to the next town over to get state-of-the-art care for my son, especially in any emergency situation, God forbid. We need to keep Holy Name in Teaneck by allowing the hospital to grow in place. That's why I'm asking you to please vote yes on ordinance 9-2022. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, May. I am now bringing in Shalom B. Please state your name for the record once you get in. Shalom B, please state your name for the record. Feel free to unmute.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is
3 minutes, Shalom.
My name is Shalom Bronstein. I'm a neighbor of the hospital. I want to start off by saying that I feel incredibly uncomfortable with the number of hospital employees, whether they are town residents or not, hiding the fact, including our former mayor, who I'm very fond of, hiding the fact that they are currently employees of the hospital, speaking as a mouthpiece of the hospital to both the board, the previous boards, and to this council. I think if someone worked for the hospital, then that's information we need to know when they're advocating on behalf of the hospital. I think in any other setting, that would be required. In addition to which, I think that the current ordinance violates the spirit and the actual details of the master plan amendment. And I think anyone who just looks at them will see all the things that have been added that were not part of any of the original plans submitted for the master plan amendment. All these things have been added, whether it's hospital maintenance facilities, whether it's an adult daycare center, whether it's the fact that we were promised that nothing would move forward at the ordinance stage until there was an agreement with the neighbors for permanent deed restrictions. We were being told as neighbors, wait, the council will watch out for you, the council will take care of you, and no ordinance will be passed until there are permanent deed restrictions ensuring the residential quality of this neighborhood. I don't understand what happened to those promises and on what basis they were made. I took everyone at their word. I assume if someone tells me, don't worry, I will assure you that this won't move forward unless your neighborhood is protected, unless there's permanent deed restrictions, that your word is your bond, that if you say something, you're going to stand behind it and not just turn around and then ignore all the things you said. So I'm very disheartened by both of those aspects of this process. That's all I have to say. It's just quite discouraging. Thank you for your time and for your service.
Thank you, Shalom. I'm bringing in Deborah Blayberg.
Hi, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, Deborah. You have 3 minutes.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Your break. I muted you, Deborah, because it sounds like you're having some technical difficulties. I'm going to bring someone else in, and then I'm going to come right back to you. I'm leaving you as a panelist. We're going to come right back to you, Deborah. It sounded like you were having a connectivity issue. I'm bringing in Themba Johnson. Still having some technical issues there, Deborah.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, Themba, just 1 second. Deborah Blayberg, please don't unmute yourself. We'll unmute you once Themba's done. I was hearing some connectivity issues on your end. Please don't go anywhere. Themba, you have 3 minutes. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right.
It's all good. Thank you so much. I'm here with Meta Gomez. This is another Teaneck watch party, as well as Stephen Johnson, and they don't work at the hospital. However, I worked at St. Mark's, which is right next door to the hospital. Also do real estate, and I was a stay-at-home mom for a very long time, like 18 years. And when I decided to enter the workplace, I turned back into the workplace after being in pharmaceutical sales for many years. I went to Holy Name to find a place of employment. Part of the reason I support the Holy Name expansion project is that it's a good place for people in the community to work, right? And so I didn't have to go back into Manhattan to find a job. I was able to find gainful employment through the hospital, which was a great place. And expansion would actually help to help the entire community find jobs, places of employment, rather, for everyone and continue their careers, whether they decide to stop working or restart a career again or whatnot. Also, one of the things that I remember, I was on this call several times, and one was when you guys voted to bring in the dispensary. And there was a lot of opposition to the dispensary, but we voted you in to make good decisions. And so we're thankful for you to make good decisions. And I hope that you continue to make decisions that are right for the entire community and not for a small group of people in the neighborhood. I live in the Holy Name neighborhood, in the district of the Holy Name neighborhood, 5 blocks from the hospital. And so I understand what some of the changes might bring to the entire neighborhood, but I'm assuming that for everyone, and when we make decisions as a township, it's for everyone, not for the small people who are around the area. It's for everyone, and to better the entire community as a whole. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Themba. Deb Blayberg, I want to try it out again.
Is this better?
Oh, it sounds crystal clear, Deborah. You have 3 minutes. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Good evening, council. Good to see everybody. I'm also calling to ask you to put it aside, Amendment 9, 2022. Again, the neighbours were promised it won't go to zoning till there's an agreement. Then we get to zoning. No, there'll be ordinances. You can stop. We can discuss it there. There'll be an agreement. Promises have been made and promises have been broken. How can we trust our council, who I have stood behind many times, argued in their favour, and now I feel seriously let down for my neighbourhoods and those people around town? I've spoken out about other residential things going up and stuff like that. We do support the rest of town, and it would be nice if we could get a little bit of support here. This is about an expansion into the residential area. You also forget there are a large amount of school children who walk down Grange, who cross Cedar Lane, who are going to be affected by the extra traffic situation. You're going to need to put a crossing guard on Cedar Lane, very likely. You've also got Thomas Jefferson down the road. The increase in traffic, and remember when school drop-off happens. So this doesn't just affect the people who live directly in the area. It affects people who are coming through the area, children who are walking through the area, and no regard to that. On Grange, a lot of the kids walk down Grange as well as Queen Anne Road. And it is time for the council to stop just charging this ahead like a bull in a china shop. And it's like this, and giving us the excuses, oh, at the next one, at the next one, at the next one. We see what you're doing. We're not gullible. We can see it. So how about we slow this down, get the neighbours and the hospital to sit down together, get an agreement put together, and then move on. And then you won't have these meetings where half the town's calling in. You'll be able to just get on with it. The hospital will just be able to get on with it. Ironically, this is a parking ordinance. And ironically, they want to reduce the parking. And yet again, they're going to get away with it, which will increase the parking situation around here, which will increase the traffic situation. Bearing in mind also, there's a lot of school buses that come around here. So there is a direct effect on the residential neighbourhood with that increase. So how about we just take a minute, take a breath and sit down? That's all we're asking for, because these actions have consequences. And right now, there are many people that are losing faith in their council members, and that's not right. So how about we come together at the table and do something instead of making promises that are just continuously broken? Thank you. Oh, one last thing. No one is against hospital expansion. Can we make that abundantly clear? No one is against it. We all support that Holy Name needs to expand, just not at the expense of the people who live in the area. The same we would do for everybody else. If Fairleigh Dickinson wanted to expand, I'm sure there would be people wanting to make sure there are ordinance and zoning going on there. So let's give everybody the same kinds of respect, and let the neighbours sit down with the hospital. The hospital have not been a good neighbour. And I'm talking about the administration, not the staff. Please be very clear on that. This is about the hospital as an institution, not the hospital as a treating place, as the doctor.
Deborah, I apologize. 3 minutes were up. You have my email, I am sure. Please feel free to email me your comments. I'll be sure to get it to council. I am bringing in Nick Lulani. Nick, you are welcome to unmute whenever you are ready. Nick, you have 3 minutes whenever you're ready. We can see you, Nick. You're muted, though. You're muted, Nick. You gotta hit the bottom left of your screen. Almost. Oh, it looks like you might be on a phone. I think it's still the bottom left of your phone screen. We're looking at two of you here. I could see you guys perfectly. You need to unmute, though. Just unmute. It's button should be bottom left. Oh, I think you're unmuted. I can't hear you, Nick. I apologize. It looks like you're unmuted, but we can't hear you. There's typically a little arrow above the mute where you could choose the microphone, but we're going to come back to you, Nick. We're going to come back to you. I'm bringing in David. Nick, please don't go anywhere. Try to figure out your microphone, and we will come right back to you. We did it for Deborah Blayberg. I'm bringing in David now.
Hi, my name is David Shapiro. Am I heard?
David.
How are you? I'm a resident of Teaneck for some 47 years. I'm here to speak on behalf of the Holy Name Expansion. I've used the services many, many times. I've seen what a lot of hospitals have done throughout the neighborhood, throughout the country. Expansion is necessary. And I just want to say that I love having Holy Name Hospital in my neighborhood. I'm in walking distance. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Nick, how's it going by you? Checking in. You're unmuted, but I can't hear you, sir. In the meantime, we'll come back to you, Nick, or your support team helps you out. And I am bringing in Aylette Hirschkorn. Aylette, you are free to unmute whenever you are ready.
Thank you very much, and good evening, council members. I am here today. This is not my first time speaking before you, but I'm here today as a very, very disappointed taxpayer and resident of the township. We have been through this process for over 2 years, trying to come to a deal with Holy Name Hospital. Nobody here minds that Holy Name expands towards the commercial sides of Teaneck Road and Cedar Lane. Nobody minds that Holy Name become a better hospital. Nobody minds that it continues to serve the residents of this town, both as in healthcare ways and also as an employer. What we do mind are that the expansion that is currently proposed and the ordinance that is before you does not sufficiently protect the residents surrounding the hospital. And we have been promised over and over again that you would not pass this ordinance, and in fact that you would not introduce this ordinance without ensuring that there would be permanent deed restrictions along Grange Road to ensure to ensure that we would be protected. I have lived here for 11 years, and I can tell you that I have seen firsthand how the hospital disregards the neighbors on Grange, Vandalinda, and Chadwick, how there have been broken promises made by the hospital and even broken agreements. Even tonight, I see I see ambulance vehicles belonging to Holy Name Hospital exiting the Grange Road driveway, which is a specific provision in an agreement that was signed by Holy Name Hospital in 2011 that they have repeatedly violated. And even when it's brought to their attention, they just don't care. So I am asking you to put a break on this ordinance. Do not adopt it until we have those permanent deed restrictions that we were promised. Thank you.
Thank you. I am now bringing in Karen. Nick, let's get a sound check real quick while Karen's coming in. Say something for us. I still can't hear you, Nick. You need to make sure that the mic on your screen is detailing that it's coming out of your iPhone. So you're speaking into your iPhone mic.
You ready for me, Doug?
Okay. Yes, sorry, as I provide IT support. Yes, Karen, you have 3 minutes.
I'm a little under the weather. I'm sorry. You know, I've sat in on these meetings and I'm dumbfounded. You know, I keep hearing what's best for their backyard, but they seem to forget what's best for this community. I'm a single mother. I got a kid in high school. She stops at the hospital. These kids, she brings her friends. They look up to the Holy Name Hospital. And we need this expansion for our community. I know the residents aren't against the expansion, but after looking at the plans, I'd rather you buy a house in that neighborhood. I don't know what they're expecting, but I would be more than happy to trade homes because I live by Glen Point. I'd rather have the view of the hospital and what they plan on doing than to look at a hotel sign and the top of a parking garage. So I don't understand where all these people were when other ordinances were going on. I know my daughter is happy to be. Oh, and to the people out there, I am a Holy Name employee. I've been very lucky to be employed there this past year. And as a single mother with a teenage in high school, I'm honored to be able to have a position that's close to home. And I can imagine a lot of other residents of this neighborhood could have this opportunity as I have been blessed with. I just don't think that what Holy Name is providing is anything that's ridiculous that these people can't agree to. And you moved in the area for 10 years. I've been here 50 years. And we always looked at that house on the hill up to them. We look up to them for guidance as we do to our Teaneck Council. So you guys are doing a great job. Let's get this, yes, get it passed. Let's move on. And we need, and as residents, we have the right to have access to up-to-date health care for everybody. I've been born there. My daughter's been born there. I want to be able to get continued care and all new provisions and all new health, whatever we need to be up to date with for our community. Thank you guys. You're doing a great job. Blessings to all. Thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you, Karen. Please feel better. I'm now bringing in Glenn. Nick, sound check. All right, Nick, we're gonna let you hang out there for a minute. Give a couple more tries. Glenn, whenever you're ready, you're free to unmute.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yeah,
3 minutes, sir.
Short and simple. You know, I'm born and raised in this town. I'm 60 years old. I was actually born at Holy Name Hospital. I just want to say I support the expansion of Holy Name. I go there for my health care, and I look forward to the expansion of Holy Name. And I like people to vote yes. That's it.
Thank you, Glenn. Nick, how is it going in your world? You're unmuted now. In the meantime, while he tries that out again, we'll be bringing in Howard Rose. Mr. Rose, whenever you are ready. I know sometimes we have technical difficulties with you too, sir. Howard Rose, whenever you are ready, please trigger out. There's the microphone. You are free to unmute. There it is, unmuted. Hey, with the books, love the books. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you. Good evening to the council, manager, council's lawyers, and the public, and the clerk. Don't want to forget you. This holy name situation really seems sad. The council and the board, planning board, are supposed to be representing the welfare and the good for Teaneck residents. Instead, it seems as if there's been negotiations going on for 2 years with Holy Name Hospital, which a former mayor just indicated there was compromise. There was no compromise, it just didn't happen. Neighbors seem to want compromise, but the hospital seems to be unwilling. I want to see that hospital expand. I want to see it have more modern services. I want to see the technology improved. Expand. I've said on one extreme, it should expand up instead of out, but there should be compromise. It's a corporation. It's a business ledger. If you're fighting it financially as a hospital, because you want to go in one direction instead of another, they have alternatives. It can be done. You can satisfy all the needs and future needs for a hospital with a different game plan. And the different game plan, again, can just be compromise, which we haven't seen yet. Now, I'm talking from a lot of knowledge because I've been on the planning board for 17 years. I've been on the Board of Education as a trustee for 9 years. I've been a trustee for the Teaneck Comes Together. I was a chairperson of the Cedar Lane Improvement District. I know what's going around the town, and I see people are unhappy. And they're unhappy because council's not representing them. Again, you're representing a business right now. And when you negotiate with a sum zero situation where the only answer you have regarding compromise is when the hospital makes a request, you have a 3-word answer, 3-letter answer, actually. Yes. Okay. That's what you want to do it. When it comes to what the neighbors want, the hospital's response seems to be more like 4-letter words. They won't compromise. They won't come to ground zero, to the ground with their and run with some of the neighbors. It's confusing and saddening, as I said. This is not something you should vote yes on. You should be voting no on it. Or you should be deferring it and doing what's right for the residents of Teaneck. It's as simple as that. Thank you. Doug, have a good night.
Hey, Howard, you have a good night too. Be safe out there. Nick Luani, what's going on in your world? We'll let Nick sort that out just a little longer. In the meantime, I'm bringing in Kim Vincent. I'm bringing in Kim Vincent. And Kim, whenever you are ready. Kim, you're welcome to your 3 minutes.
Okay. I am not a political person. I've had an intimate experience with Holy Name. My mother was a volunteer there. My son's first job out of college was there. And my sister was the director of the School of Nursing for many years. And I hear a lot of anguish and anger. I don't know what's going on. All I know is that many, many families, whether it's employment or healthcare, depend on Holy Name. During the time of COVID, that was the town's lifeline. We didn't have to go to Hackensack. We didn't have to go to Valley. We could go to Holy Name. And my feeling is that if the hospital is going to thrive, there's a hospital up north that closed and Hackensack took over. And I don't want to see Hackensack take over Holy Name. But I do feel that if Holy Name is going to thrive and continue to grow, that it's going to have to get bigger some sort of a way. And I just hope that the residents in the hospital can figure it out. I understand it's your home, but when it comes to healthcare, and I'm a retired healthcare person, if you're going to solve anything, the emotion has to, you just have to settle it down. But I do think the hospital definitely has to expand. And that's it for me.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Kim, thank you for that. Nick Lulani, what's going on in your world? Are you talking, Nick? Nod your head for me if you're talking, because I can't hear you. Still can't hear you, Nick. All right, that's all right. I am bringing in Michelle Amundson. Michelle, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing. Nick, we will try you again.
Hi, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, Michelle.
Okay. The council's in a tough position. You're trying to please all of the taxpayers, and somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. But by voting for this expansion, everybody wins in the end, not the hospital, not the good neighbors of Teaneck, but everybody that has access to Holy Name. The expansion is important. We've discussed this at so many meetings. Now's the time to act, not table it and let this go on another couple of years. Just like another person said earlier, do we want to be bought out by a place like Hackensack? Please vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. I am now bringing in Mark Schlussel. Bringing in Mark Schlussel whenever you are ready, sir.
Hi, good evening, council. I want to discuss the hospital ordinance. I've been a resident of Teaneck for the past 63 years, been involved with the township, past chair of the Teaneck Economic Development Corporation. I want to speak about this ordinance, which has many flaws and needs improvement. I don't understand the letter or the reference that was made about the letter from the planning board to the council. The planning board struggled with some aspects of the ordinance, but and gave comments. Those comments weren't mentioned and need to be addressed by the council. There's flaws with the parking. If you read the ordinance carefully, council, you'll see that the parking is actually less for the hospital, for the medical office, than it is for medical offices around town. Does not make sense. You're going to create a parking problem once again in this neighborhood by doing an ordinance structured like this. The H2 zone, which is the zone that backs up into the residence, has many flaws in it, has not been addressed. The planning board is looking to the council to address those flaws. And there's also flaws about the buffering and fencing that does not protect the neighborhood. These should be addressed. If you don't address them, you're going to continue to have problems with the hospital infringing on the neighborhood. We implore you to represent the residents and the voters of Teaneck and not a corporation. A corporation that sends out a call center to make calls around town to support them. A corporation that takes out full-page ads and hires a PR firm instead of just sitting down at the table and negotiating. They gave us a take it or leave it signed settlement, basically take it or leave it without any of the items that they had previously agreed to. That's not the way you work. That's not a good actor. And when you act in bad faith, it should not be rewarded by the council. I implore you to table this and let's get an ordinance that does not have flaws before you proceed forward. we again, as neighbors and residents, want the hospital to modernize. It needs to modernize, obviously. So if the hospital was in such a need and desire to modernize, they would have sat down with us and negotiated in good faith, which is lacking. I thank you for your attention this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. I am now bringing in Daniel Bellin. Nick, real quick, sound check for me. Let's give you one more shot as we're bringing in Daniel.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Daniel. I can't hear you, Nick. Nick, I apologize. We tried. If you'd like, you can send your comments to my email, clerk@teanecknj.gov, and I'll be sure that the council receives them. I'm sorry, Nick. Daniel, the floor is yours.
Hi, council. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me. I was just curious whether any of the council members would be willing to help us negotiate with the hospital to improve the agreements that they sent to us. They sent us an agreement that includes a 40-year permanent deed restriction, not including the sub-district H2. I really feel like if that agreement was modified slightly to make those deed restrictions permanent and to include the sub-district H2 in those restrictions, that we would be able to stop coming to these meetings and having to voice our concerns like this over and over and over. So I'm just hoping to reach out to see if any of the council members would be willing to help us to table this ordinance, to help us finalize those few concerns that remain, so we can, stop coming to say no and start coming to say yes.
Is that all, Dan?
That's it. I would love to hear if any council members are willing to help us, but it doesn't seem like it's happening. So.
Just for a point of clarity, Daniel, at this point of the meeting, the dialogue does not take place with the council members. If you wish to assert in any sort of question to the council members, their emails are on our website. If you'd like, you can email me, clerk@teanecknj.gov, and I'll be sure to send your contact information over to the council members also.
Yep, I look forward to continuing the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Be safe. I am now bringing in Benjamin.
Hi, good morning, good evening. My name is Dr. Benjamin Rosenbluth. I live in Teaneck and proudly work at Holy Name. I've looked at the plans and I've been on these meetings and I've heard the neighbors, and just simply put, this plan makes sense. This plan works for Teaneck. It's a win-win-win. It's a win for Holy Name, a win for Teaneck, and a win for the neighbors. But it's mostly a win for Teaneck because Holy Name stays here, works here, and continues to help Teaneck thrive. I hear that the neighbors are concerned about traffic, but this plan reduces traffic, it reduces noise, and it reduces street parking in their neighborhood. I urge you to vote yes on this excellent plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Benjamin. I am now bringing in Katie Katz.
Good evening, council members. This is Katie Katz. My family has been in this neighborhood for 63 years, since my grandparents moved to Grange Road and built their home there. My parents and aunts and uncles all got married in their backyard and moved to this very neighborhood to start their own families. I moved back to Teaneck with my husband and 3 young children to the same neighborhood 5 years ago. I come here tonight as someone who cares deeply about Teaneck. I am supportive of Holy Name and their good work. I am also pro-development, but I am not in support of tonight's Holy Name ordinance. Those 3 things are not in conflict with one another. The ordinance that you have before you tonight is dangerous. It allows for aggressive development that is vague, offers oversized power to the hospital without proper protections for the residents, and sets a precedent that will have ramifications not just for this neighborhood, but across Teaneck for many years to come. If you approve this ordinance tonight, you are sending a clear message to every resident in Teaneck that the residents are not protected by its council when a corporation with the deepest pockets pushes their weight around. It is possible to have an expanded and modern hospital facility that is not at the expense of Teaneck's residents. I ask you, on behalf of my family, my neighbors, and all Teaneck residents, please table tonight's ordinance. Please ensure a more thoughtful expansion than the ordinance tonight calls for. Make revisions that include the real protections you assured us of over the past year. A well thought out master plan and expansion benefits every resident of Teaneck. Go back and revise the ordinance so that it allows the hospital to expand and properly protects your constituents. You will then have our full support for the hospital's expansion. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. I am now bringing in Rob Simon. Rob Simon, whenever you're ready, you are free to unmute.
Can you hear and see me okay? Thank you.
Yes, loud and clear, Rob.
Appreciate that. Thank you. So my name is Rob Simon. I'm an attorney with Herald Law in Warren, New Jersey. As you all are aware, yesterday I submitted a piece of correspondence with some attachments to the mayor and council with regard to Ordinance 09-2022 regarding the proposed expansion of the hospital zone. As you read from my correspondence on behalf of my clients, we believe that the amendment is legally invalid as improper spot zoning with vague and inappropriate standards, and in part substantially inconsistent with the master plan, and it should not be adopted this evening. Words matter. Ordinance details are critical to any proposed zoning ordinance amendment. And we've heard nothing tonight in support of the ordinance that explains why the specific contents, the words of the ordinance are appropriate in consideration of applicable law. That is because they are not. This is not an issue of whether the hospital is good or bad. It is whether the zoning amendment and its words as proposed are legal. It is not, they are not. We also included in our correspondence from yesterday one of our clients that without prejudice took the liberty of proposing a markup of the amendment with accompanying comments that we forwarded to you. And certainly we believe, with all due respect, that those changes as proposed, submitted without prejudice, allow expansion and modernization, concerns expressed by the proponents of the ordinance, while addressing many of the concerns of the neighbors. My March 14th letter also brought to your attention certain facts and circumstances that we believe require that certain township council members, Councilwoman Organ, Deputy Mayor Schwartz, Deputy Mayor Katz should recuse themselves from voting on the amendment due to conflicts of interest. We thought it was very important. I believe as an officer of the court, I was obligated to bring such matters to your attention prior to vote and consideration in a public session. I don't need to repeat verbatim the contents of my letter. It speaks for itself unless anyone has any questions. You are also aware that certain members of the public filed protest petitions along with the professional planner certification with exhibits in opposition to ordinance number 9/2022. As you know, pursuant to the municipal land use law at section 63, that a protest against the proposed amendment or revision of a zoning ordinance may be filed with the municipal clerk, which it was in this case, signed by the owners of the lots or land extending 200 feet in all directions from the ordinance proposal, inclusive of street space, whether with or without the municipality. And as a result of that, any vote on this amendment shall not become effective following the filing of that protest petition, except by a favorable vote of 2/3 of all members of the governing body of the municipality. Frankly, I'm surprised that this hearing has started, this public hearing, and there's been no mention of either.
Rob, I apologize. The 3 minutes were up. You do indeed have my email, clerk@teanecknj.gov. Feel free to finish your comments in email. I'll be sure to get it over to our council. I have David and Judy in here. Please state your name for the record. It can only be one of you.
David Fox.
Hi, David Fox. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I have been a Teaneck resident for over 50 years growing up in town. I've been a pharmacist at Holy Name for the past 18 years. My wife, children, and I have been patients at Holy Name multiple times over the years. Wearing all three hats, Teaneck resident, Holy Name employee, and Holy Name patient, I'm incredibly proud of the medical care provided by the outstanding doctors and staff at Holy Name. This has never been more evident than during the early days of the pandemic, when Holy Name transformed the hospital almost overnight as our community became an epicenter for cases. And over the past 15 months with Holy Name's successful vaccination program. I speak in favor of the proposed expansion plans because Holy Name must have the facilities and resources to meet our future healthcare needs. I also think the plans take into consideration preserving and even enhancing the neighborhood surrounding the hospital. The plan reduces ambulances and traffic on these side streets. I, for one, drive up Chadwick and would not under the proposed plan. Holy Name has been an important part of Teaneck for the past 96 years. We need to allow Holy Name the facilities to continue to serve us well into the future. Thank you.
I apologize. I was on mute. Thank you, David Fox, for your comments. I'm now bringing in Mike. Mike, whenever you're ready, please unmute, state your name for the record.
Sure, my name is Mike Ackerman. I'm not sure how to follow up, so I'm going to go a slightly different direction. Two things I want to bring up. One, the neighbors have articulated both in spoken and in written word very clearly the issues that have that are with this amendment. And other than the feedback we've gotten on these calls is it makes sense they need to expand, but nothing's actually been addressed to the excellent articulation that has been taken by the good neighbors of Teaneck. And I just want to pivot also to sort of paint a picture, sort of piggybacking on what Ms. Blyberg had to say earlier with the increased traffic. I don't know who on this call of you has kids, young kids or old, but imagine for a moment that you work in a place where it's not very easy for you to leave work because of the kind of work you do, you and your spouse. And you get a phone call and it's because your child got hit by a car that was because of Holy Name traffic. That child is under 2 years old, strapped in a stroller and rolling around Cedar Lane. And I get a phone call that has happened. I don't have to imagine it. I have to leave an operating room in the middle of the city, and my wife also, to go and tend to this. As a physician that's involved in trauma and in critical care, Holy Name wasn't there for me then. They caused the problem, but we got our care at another institution. But you know who was there for me? It was my neighbors. And this is something that if the plans aren't thought about and taken care of precisely down to the right details, I'm afraid is only going to get worse. It's not just my child that's crossing the street, it's all the school children and all the increased traffic. There will be increased traffic. That girl was less than 2 years old. Her name is Margaret. We're still dealing with the hospital bills. We're still dealing with the lawyers. Thank God she's doing okay. But no parent should ever have to deal with getting a phone call in the middle of the day because of something like this. I really urge you to take the time and think about this properly. We have expressed to you the issues. The least you could do is express to us why you think differently, other than it's a good plan. Because again, we've never, ever had any issues with the plan. We have issues with how it's being carried out. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. And I'm now bringing in Francis Reiner.
Good evening. My name is Francis Reiner. I'm a professional planner at DMR Architects. I've been working as a consultant to Holy Name Hospital for the past year and a half on both the master plan re-exam as well as the current ordinance before you this evening. Over the past year and a half, I've been involved with numerous meetings, calls, and conversations between the township, between Richard and Keenan, between the hospital, and between the adjacent neighbors. What is striking to me about this process has been the amount of input the township has had from the public that has directly been included as a part of the ordinance before you. This ordinance includes significant improvements brought about through those meetings and conversations. In my opinion, the zoning ordinance provides protections to the adjacent residential neighborhoods that go above and beyond typical requirements found in most zoning ordinances. For example, the ordinance creates subdistricts intended to limit development requirements. The closer to Grange Road, the more restrictive the requirements. In the first two subject districts, which are closest to Grange Road, development is limited to single-family dwellings, surface parking, and a daycare facility. The ordinance requires the closure of existing Grange Road entrance, while also requiring significant landscape buffers to further protect residents. It requires the closure of Chadwick Road as a through street, as well as the closure of Vandalinda Avenue entrance for public use. These requirements alone create a significantly better condition for adjacent residents than the current condition. The ordinance requires all new construction of the main hospital facility to be limited to no closer than the existing hospital from Grange Road. It limits building heights. It focuses new construction toward the eastern portion of the property along Cedar Lane and Teaneck Road, and it requires other improvements that are just typically not found in zoning ordinances, such as internal circulation requirements, pedestrian improvements, architectural design standards, as well as requirements for open space. To be clear, no one wants parking from the hospital on adjacent residential streets, and this ordinance goes a long way to ensure that is the case. As written, I believe the ordinance is comprehensive and extensive. It provides requirements that are well beyond what a typical zoning ordinance would include, and these are done for the benefit of the community, the hospital, and the protection of the neighbors. Keenan and his team have provided requirements that are both creative, responsive, and respectful to the adjacent residential neighborhoods. And finally, in my opinion, the ordinance is consistent with the master plan and achieves the goals and objectives to allow the hospital to grow and expand as a world-class facility while clearly protecting and frankly improving the existing conditions for the adjacent residents and residential neighborhoods. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Fran.
Okay. All right, that's going to conclude the open portion, the open hearing for these ordinances. As Doug mentioned earlier, those individuals who wish to send their comments in, you can send them to Doug and he will distribute them to the council. At this point, I'm going to ask very briefly if members of council have anything to say before I then ask legal counsel to make a comment. Does anybody have? Deputy Mayor Katz.
Yeah. There's not much that I could say that will please those that just want to hear that I should vote no on this ordinance. I know that there's some neighbors, not all, that are against this ordinance. COVID has reinforced to all of us how valuable it is to have a top-notch hospital in our town, from treatment to vaccines. While many in the country were trying to get the vaccine, Teaneck residents were some of the first to get vaccinated because of Holy Name. This ordinance is good for the neighbors, good for the hospital employees, good for the hospital, and most important, good for all of Teaneck. This ordinance will shift the future needs of the hospital to the front of Cedar Lane and Teaneck Road and will provide the ability and flexibility to Holy Name Hospital to continue to be a world-class hospital. It will give parking to their employees so that they can reduce or eliminate the need for employees to shuttle for 3 miles back and forth to work before they go to work. Take cars off the surrounding neighborhood roads, create additional buffers and setbacks, and create one main entrance and flow to the hospital with emergency vehicles having an in-only gate on Vandalinda and not two-way traffic. So my friends, the Dagenholtz, get reduced amount of vehicles going up and down Vandalinda. And yes, Mr. and Ms. Dagenholtz, I will support closing the access door as well, so it doesn't become an easy drop-off on Vandalinda as well. There's so much more that if you have not read it, I ask that you read it and not rely on certain neighbors' personal narratives. As far as the agreement, I want to be clear. This is not a township agreement, and this is not a hospital agreement that was signed by the hospital a few weeks ago. This was an agreement between the hospital and a draft proposed agreement between the hospital and the neighbors, taking into consideration many of the neighbors' needs and requests. Not all, but almost all. I'm deeply disappointed in some of the neighbors' comments, actions, and behaviors over these negotiations. They're obviously blinded by their passion and anger towards the hospital and the history to achieve any agreement that will help the neighbors. I've been working with the zoning subcommittee for the last 2 years on this hospital ordinance. For every 1 hour I spent working on this project, Deputy Mayor Mark Schwartz spent 17. And the way he was thanked was by phone calls to the organization that he volunteers on their board and allegedly disparaging his character. Real nice. The neighbors were okay with a controlled access door from the hospital parking lot to their mansions on the 1 acre property, but were adamantly against the controlled access door from the same hospital parking lot to the church next door. This is the same church that my friend Reverend Randall Day showed me has hospital telephone lines running to it. And in the event it was ever needed for an emergency staging area. I don't know all the details and history between the neighbors and the hospital over the years, but it is obvious that there are strong mistrusts of each on both sides. This agreement would have given comfort and removed any personal feelings or ambiguities to both the neighbor and the hospital, and just focus on protecting the neighbors. For those that say it was rushed, it's been over 2 years. For those that say there was no compromise, has not been following the last 2 years of negotiations. For those that say the council is not protecting the neighborhood, read the ordinance again, and we will continue to protect the neighborhood. For those that feel if we only delayed it, neighbors in the hospital have an agreement. If just we're this close. This was my feeling for the last 2 years as well. The tactics by some of publicly attacking me will not give the neighbors the protections and peace of mind they need. The threats of not voting for me, besides maybe not having that opportunity for them, will not give the neighbors the protections and peace of mind that they need. The attempt to get council members to recuse themselves, especially Deputy Mayor Mark Schwartz, that was the one that got the hospital to offer a deed restriction and even keep it on the table through the entire process. That will not give the neighbors the protection and peace of mind they need. And a lawsuit by the neighbors, I'm going to finish. The lawsuit by neighbors will definitely not give the neighbors the protection and peace of mind they need. If anything, it will make it worse for the neighborhood. This plan reduces traffic, reduces noise, and reduces parking in the neighborhood. The only one that can give the neighbors the protection and peace of mind they need are the neighbors. By signing the private agreement between the hospital and the neighbors, which included a deed restriction with the hospital. I was at many of those meetings with the hospital and the neighbors, and the hospital proposed the deed restriction to give the neighbors the protection and peace of mind they need and deserve. And in return, the hospital was looking for support of the neighbors with their project. Well, I think it's fair to say that the spirit of that agreement has not been honored. But with that said, it is still the right thing and responsibility of this council to protect the neighbors and the neighborhood, and council should still request a deed restriction, even if we can only get 20 to 25 years. So at least for the next 20 or 25 years, these neighbors can sleep well. Yes, knowing that their back of the property is protected.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comment? Okay. Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
Yes, I'll be brief, as I gave Deputy Mayor Katz some of my time. I thank everyone for coming out to discuss the ordinance, and I'll try to stick to the facts. There were some comments made about rushing this like a bull in a china shop. This has been an agreement that's been being worked on for 2 years. As it relates to neighbors not being able to sit down with the hospital and not be able to negotiate, that's outright false. There's been plenty of meetings, plenty of negotiations, and a signed settlement by the hospital. And if the neighbors did not want to sign that settlement, I requested in emails repeatedly for the neighbors to sign their own agreement, send it to the council, and the council, thereby having 2 separate agreements, will then sit down with the party. Mr. Bellin, you requested it. I forwarded you those emails in which we said, sign your own agreement and we will sit down with both parties. We still, almost 1 month later, do not even have a signed copy of the neighbors agreement. We have a signed copy of the hospital's agreement, which, by the way, has 40 years of deed restrictions. Dr. Ackerman, I'm sorry to hear about your child, and I'm happy to say that this plan will remove hospital traffic from the neighborhood. It will close down Chadwick into a cul-de-sac. It will shut down Grange Road and replace it with 150 feet of buffered greenaway. And it would only make Vandalinda a inbound only for emergency flashing vehicles and not a two-way existing street. And as it relates to Ms. Hirschkorn and your comments tonight about the Grange Road being used even tonight by ambulances, well, again, that will be taken care of under this ordinance. It will be shut down. So I appreciate everyone's time over the last 2 years in countless meetings, and I look forward to this going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to ask
Mr. Mayor.
Hold on. Who else? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Councilman Kaplan, go ahead.
Sure. If I could just, sorry. If I could just say quickly, you know, having served on the planning board and now the council, one of the chief requirements that we need to do is find the highest and best use for all of the land in town. And part of that is the master plan amendment. Part of that is incorporating comments from residents. And I read literally everything that came in. I read the past zoning ordinances of town going back to the 50s, 70s. Now I've read the comments that the neighbors brought in. And frankly, the markup that the neighbors submitted, I think some of those comments can be considered for future zoning updates. But as they mentioned, their suggestions would allow the buildings in the current plan and that the current plan contemplates, and that can still be done under their amendments. So I see no reason to vote against the current zoning ordinance. In fact, as others have said, and Deputy Mayor Schwartz just mentioned, the closing of Vandalinda and the rerouting of after the vacation of Chadwick will actually take a lot of the pressure off of the residential streets as far as traffic and make it much safer. So I do look forward to council continuing to review and update our ordinances for the betterment of all residents as we find the highest and best uses for all properties. And you know, this is not the end of collaborating with residents. It's not the end of speaking with these residents. I understand the individual motivations are sometimes heightened for people living closer by, but that's reason to work with us more as we go forward. Thanks.
Thank you. I'd like now to have our legal counsel, John Sedanian, have a few words. Oh, wait. Okay, people are raising their hands. Councilmember Organ, and then Rice.
Just quickly, I was the subject of the letter sent by the neighbors regarding recusal. I'm not recusing myself because I am a member of TVAC or related to one. I don't benefit from that any more than any other resident of TVAC. I'm recusing myself on voting on the ordinance because I have a family member who's an employee now at Holy Name. So I just want that clear. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Rice.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, you know, first of all, always thank you for all the residents who did call in and should feel valued and heard, because what this agreement looked like 2 years ago is certainly not what it looks like today. There has been a lot of input that has been taken into consideration, you know, on both sides. And I just hope that people feel that they were heard. And if they look at, again, what this agreement looks like in comparison to what it did, a lot of their voices and opinions and concerns were addressed. And I just wanted to share that comment.
Thank you. Now,
Mr. Mayor, I'll be brief. I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll be brief. I promise. Less than 30 seconds, maybe 45. This ordinance is comprehensive. It's safe. It's responsible, and it's consistent with the master plan and helps protect the neighbors. And if you read the ordinance, you will see that. So I will be supporting this ordinance, but I also want to encourage everyone to please remember that more than 170,000 COVID-19 vaccines were administered at the Rhoda Center in conjunction with the township, and that would not have been possible without the assistance of our hometown hospital. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome. John, would you like to say something now?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I just want to address a couple of things just quickly so that everybody from the public understands what is going on and what's not going on, because I think it was Deputy Mayor Katz might have used the term, there was a new narrative, and it's my job as the legal counsel for the township to make sure that the narrative stays on point, and that the facts are what we're talking about. So there was a letter that was received yesterday from Mr. Simon. He indicated that he represented a certain residents that live near the hospital. Not quite sure why both he and some of those residents spoke. I would think that he would have cautioned his clients to not speak because the things that they're saying were potentially admissions. But that being the case, we also did receive a protest document today, but that was not received from Mr. Simon. That was received from the Good Neighbors of Teaneck, and was signed by Alan Rubenstein, who's been their spokesperson. That bid protest does require a 2/3 vote of the council because of what it is and what the statute says that it is. But with that being said, I'm not on behalf of the township as their attorney. I'm not saying that the township is in agreement that it requires 2/3 at this point, because we received it at 10:30 this morning. So there's no time that was permitted to the governing body, to the township, to review with our planner, with our other attorneys, whether or not the number of people that were listed in the protest were sufficient to meet the 20% triggering requirement. It looks like it does, but I'm not, as the township attorney, I'm not going to sit up here and tell the members of the public or Mr. Simon that the township is waiving any rights. And in fact, I'm saying the opposite, that we're going to reserve all of our rights to challenge, the protest if in fact the numbers don't match up, and if there is any kind of legal action that ensues afterwards. But at this point, without belaboring this anymore, because it's 10:30 now, I just wanted, just to make sure that, that the public was aware of what had happened timing wise in terms of when we received these objections to the vote tonight, that they were received yesterday afternoon and at 10:30 this morning. It wasn't like the town was provided with what I would consider appropriate time to do a full evaluation of that protest. But that notwithstanding, I've given my counsel to the council in closed session, and I'm sure you're all prepared to do what you think is right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shedanian. And I'll just add that, every negotiation I've ever been involved with is always tough. And when it's over, I think both sides leave the table feeling like, well, we got some stuff, but we didn't get all the stuff. And I've learned that that's probably the best deal you can come up with. Both sides get something. They don't get everything, and they leave the table and continue to talk or move forward together and trying to get a better thing done. Our country is based on that, actually. I'm happy we're at this point. I wish there was 100% agreement, but I don't think we're ever going to have 100%. That's just not the way these things work. But I think this is overall a good deal for the neighbors, a good deal for the town, and a good deal for the hospital. So with that, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve ordinance number 8, 2022, 9, 2022, 10, 2022, and 11, 2022.
Mr. Mayor,
Motion.
I yield to Deputy Mayor Mark Schwartz on that motion, and I'll second it.
Motion Schwartz on all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Second, Deputy Mayor Katz. Okay, let's do the roll.
Councilwoman Rami Rice. That looked like a yes. Give me a nod if that was a yes.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. All good, all good. Councilman Bougain.
Yes.
Councilwoman Organ.
Yes on 8, 10, and 11, recusal on 9.
Councilman Kaplan.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
Yes on all.
Deputy Mayor Katz.
Yes on all.
Mayor Dunleavy.
Yes on all.
Adopted. Publications going out tomorrow.
Okay. Now we will open up for good and welfare.
Mr.
for the
Mayor,
public. I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Deputy Mayor.
can I please just have a few comments prior to the opening as per the agenda?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. I'll make it brief.
Make it brief.
I'll make it brief. We have a responsibility to do what's best for all of Teaneck. Giving Holy Name the ability to continue to be a world-class hospital for the next 50 years is best for all of Teaneck. We see it all over the country, hospitals closing and or consolidating. We saw it here in Bergen County. Having a hospital 3 minutes from every corner of Teaneck is not a luxury. It is a necessity when it comes to saving lives. Fortunately, many of the neighbors' requests in the agreement have been incorporated in the ordinance that we voted on tonight, and we did listen to the neighbors. This plan reduces traffic, reduces noise, and reduces parking in the neighborhood and shifts the development to the front and not the residential back. The threat of a lawsuit by some of the neighbors is either a bluff or another huge blunder by the neighbors like they did when they walked away from a 40-year deed restriction. In addition to spending and wasting hundreds of thousands of dollars, countless hours, there is no judge in the US that will require a hospital to deed restrict their property, and everyone knows that. At best, the judge will undo some of the buildings being proposed in the front of the hospital, which will only give the hospital the need to build 4 or 5-story buildings, which are much cheaper to build, and they'll be scattered throughout the property, including all over the back area of the neighbors, the area we were trying to protect tonight. These new buildings will also require access points all around the hospital, opening up the cars and traffic back into the neighborhood, which is what we tried to avoid. But with that said, it is still the right thing and the responsibility of the council to protect the neighbors and the neighborhood, and councils should still request a deed restriction, even if we can only get 20 or 25 years, so that for the next 20 or 25 years, these neighbors can sleep well, knowing that the back area is protected. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Seeing no other hands, I will then move to, I'm sorry, did I see another hand? No?
Can I just mention one thing
Catherine, go
quickly,
ahead.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
One of the residents had written me after she had spoken at a zoning board meeting, and she wrote to me about, being, she thought brushed off. And in our conversation, what wound up becoming apparent was that there were a lot of procedural issues that weren't very capable of being translated in a very short time frame during the meeting. And I happened to have written about some of them, and I showed them to her, and she was very appreciative. But one thing that I'd like the public just to understand about what good and welfare always meant and what it is an opportunity for the public to address council, not individual council members, but just the council. It's an opportunity to speak to their government and to be heard, that you have an opportunity to talk unencumbered. And that's really important. And one of the problems I many times face at the end is how to address some of these complex issues with only 3 minutes to respond. And I think that the answer is that we're not supposed to. Not that we're not supposed to respond, but that we're not supposed to give you a very quick off-the-cuff answer that doesn't really address your issues. So I take meticulous notes while people speak, and my email is on the website. And if there's something that I can contribute to right off the bat, I certainly will. But for many of the people that come here that have very complex questions or questions that require some thought, deliberation, or research, I will respond to you either individually or as a council response at a future meeting. But I think it's incumbent on all of us, and I hope our my fellow council members heed that too, to remember, back to first principles about what good and welfare is about. It's about an opportunity for the public to speak to us and hopefully get a real answer instead of something quick at the end. That was all.
Thank you. And I just want to remind the public, please address the council as the council and not anybody specific at this point. Again, you can ask questions. As you heard, we'll do everything that we can to answer them, but we're not able to do that right now on many of the things that you ask. So just be a little patient and please address the council as council, not as any individuals, okay? Doug, we're ready to go?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, members of council. This is our general public portion. So any matters on your mind that you wish to bring up to council, now is the time to do it. You have 3 minutes. My email is clerk@teanecknj.gov. If you are unable to fit your comments into the 3 minutes allotted, please send your comments to that email and I'll be sure to distribute directly to council. And with that being said, the first hand we saw was Mr. Alan Rubenstein.
Doug, I'm sorry, before we go, can I have a motion to extend this meeting to 11:30?
Absolutely. You're ahead of the ball there, Mayor. Was there a second for the mayor's motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Okay. All right, go ahead.
Mr. Alan Rubenstein. Alan, can you hear us? Mr. Alan Rubenstein.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Could you mute the TV going on in the background? We're getting some feedback.
Yes. Yes.
Did you mute the TV?
Just did. Okay.
Yeah, that lag is tripping me out. Okay, 3 minutes.
I unfortunately did not get an opportunity to talk at the prior session. My understanding is, according to NJSA 4049-2, which governs the procedures for passage of that ordinance, all persons interested shall be given an opportunity to be heard concerning the ordinance. I'm not quite sure why, when you're doing an ordinance, why you can't follow the law. Not quite sure about that, but maybe Mr. Shadani can explain that one also. And considering that he referred to me as the spokesman, maybe I should have been given an opportunity to talk. I do want to discuss another ordinance that you're bringing up later this evening, which is ordinance number 13-2022, which is to vacate the portion of Chadwick Road. I respectfully request that the council not introduce that ordinance tonight, provide the council an opportunity to address a fatal flaw in that ordinance. In an email dated December 28th, John Shadanian wrote, when discussing that ordinance to expand the hospital zone, sorry, the different ordinance, the one we just passed tonight, he said, quote, "I thought we were making the streetification a contingency to the entire ordinance. The direction we got was make it clear that the township doesn't vacate the street if the hospital doesn't make the deal with the neighbors," end quote. That was in December 28th. No deal has been made, as you know. There's still an opportunity to make a deal, but please, by your actions tonight, please don't make Mr. Shadanian a liar. That would not be nice to do to him. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rubenstein. I am now bringing in Ron Schwartz. Mr. Rubenstein, I am now bringing.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Can you hear me?
Yes, you have 3 minutes.
I'm speaking tonight on behalf of a One Town, One Vote. One Town, One Vote successfully unified Teaneck voters to make it easier and more convenient for everyone to vote for our officials at one time as part of the general election in November. We also united the town behind clean energy, a campaign that now seems especially prescient. We are writing to express our concern that in addition to having the right to vote for their government representatives in a unified election, Teaneck residents also have the right to have their voices heard at public meetings. As you discuss rules regarding open quote decorum, close quote, at council meetings, you should consider the words of Justice Thurgood Marshall, who wrote, open quote, "Above all else, the First Amendment means
that government has no power to restrict expression because of its message, its ideas, its subject matter, or its content, close quote. The actions this council has taken to silence members of the public, whether they be at council meetings, planning board meetings, closing off the advisory boards, or on social media, are unacceptable and unconstitutional. The members of this council were elected to represent all residents of Teaneck, whether they are supporters or opponents of individual council members. Freedom of speech is one of, if not the most important right of our democratic republic. We have the right to express ourselves without interference or regulation from government. As the governing body in Teaneck, you may not censor speech you do not like, while inviting the speech you do. You also may not interfere with the residents' right to speech simply because you believe them to be stating alternate facts. As a council, you may set rules for meetings, such as how long members of the public may speak or how long good and welfare lasts. You may put a meeting in recess if a member of the public becomes disruptive or violent. Council members also have the freedom to respond to public comments as they see fit following good and welfare. However, you may not shut off a resident due to your personal biases. You may not make a claim that the resident was off topic when the following two speakers voiced the same exact questions and concerns. You may not, in one breath, state that residents cannot address individual members of the council during good and welfare, but then allow residents who offer praise to individual council members to speak to those individuals. I'll reserve the rest of my time for another speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. I'm now bringing in Robert and Joyce Giddens. Robert and Joyce Giddens, it can only be one of you. Please state your name for the record. When we promote you to panelist, members of the public, you need to accept the invitation that pops up on your screen. Should be a blue button. Yeah, you get the ticket.
Hello, can you hear me now, Doug?
Loud and clear, Miss Joyce Giddens. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I want to publicly recognize, welcome Kathy John of the Cake Butcher's Bakery and Studio to Teaneck Road, which is Teaneck's International Marketplace. And I want to say, this is a commendation. I want to thank Councilwoman Rice for welcoming and recognizing this new business and for your continued outreach to our community. Thank you also, Township Manager, for your ongoing support of this community as well as all of Teaneck. Teaneck Road Business Community Alliance is happy to see new businesses grow and develop, especially during this difficult time of economics. And we're happy to say we've had new businesses opening during the pandemic, and we pray that they will all prosper. As chairperson of Teaneck Road Business Community Alliance, I would like to be sure of the protocol to welcome new businesses. Are we to contact the township manager going forward? Also, I'm sorry to have missed the prayer vigil that you had for the people of Ukraine. And I thank the council for open worldwide concern for people devastated by war, the ravages of war. Also, I wanted to congratulate young lady Natasha for her beautiful mural. It's an uplift to all that, it's an uplift to that dull wall. I guess that's it. It's so late. Have a nice evening.
Joyce, it's always a pleasure hearing from you. Thank you. I am bringing in call-in user one. Call-in user one, please state your name for the record as I am unable to see it.
Margaret Baker.
Hello, Ms. Baker. You have 3 minutes.
Yes, I'm addressing the council. I'm calling because I've been listening to the meeting, and you talk about the council representing the residents of Teaneck. That is not true. We here on Decatur are getting a 6-story, 255-unit building with a swimming pool on top and 400 cars parked underground. And we didn't hear a word from the town. That is not representing the residents of Teaneck. We are here, and you knew we were here. And how you let the planning board change every zone and variance that this building could be built in our front doors. Our front doors. I must say, recently, I did have a visit from 2 council people, and it was informative. I also had a visit from a subcommittee, one of these secret subcommittees that came around. I was home, I was leaving, and the council person came up to me, introduced himself, and I looked at him right in the eye, and I gave him my name. My son was standing behind me. This council person, you know what came out of his mouth to my son? Are you a cop? I turned and looked. What are you talking about? You walking around for the community, and you're going to ask if he's a cop? Well, he did answer no, but I don't see where that had anything to do with your visit. I think you got a little close to the line, and I hope you don't cross it or attempt to cross it. Nothing was said about the project, not one word. So that tells me how concerned you were. And you care about the residents? No, you don't. You care about putting that building up, getting...
Ms. Baker, the 3 minutes were up. I know you have my email. Please send the rest of your comments over to our email, and we'll be sure to get it over to council. I am now bringing in Natalie. Please state your name for the record. Natalie, whenever you're ready.
Yeah,
you can
hello.
unmute.
Can
Yes,
you hear
hello.
me? Good evening, all. I was hoping, well, I better get going because I only have
3
minutes.
3 minutes, Natalie.
Yes. I was hoping that Laverne Lightburn would speak, and it's in reference to naming a Teaneck landmark for our former Senator Weinberg. And she sent an email to the council, and she had gotten up twice to the council meeting to speak about that. And no response, only from Council Romney Rice. And I hope they would consider it, because they seem as though they went and did a dedication for Kenneth Hoffman, which I don't have a problem with. But it seems as though I get an email from the township on Friday, 3/11, about this. This is unbeknownst to me. I don't know if you mentioned it at a council meeting and let the residents know, but if you can dedicate a soccer field for Kenneth Hoffman, that's fine. Please look into doing a landmark name dedicated to Loretta Weinberg. She's been a very good figure in this town and in this state. So, and I would love somebody to let me know why a notice came out about this dedication on a Friday for a Sunday dedication. I didn't know about it. Please let me know, was this announced at a council meeting? Because it's the residents of Teaneck. We should be informed of this. So that, and I know Councilman Schwartz, Katz said that they're going around and they're having discussion about several issues that they are trying to address. And one of them was about outdoor dining. I would like to know who they're having this conversation with, even the other issue, because when it comes to outdoor dining, I'm very concerned about that. And if it's impossible, I would like to have an input or sit on this committee when they decide to do that. So, I think that's it. And I go along with Ron Schwartz about our freedom of speech and democracy. We should not be limited. This is not a dictatorship town or country. Please don't do that to the residents, because I said it's a two-way street. You want respect from the residents? Please, the council should give respect to the residents. We should be.
Natalie, the 3 minutes were up. I know you have my email. Feel free to send me your comments. I'll be sure to get it in the hands of council. I now brought in Karen.
Hi again, Karen McAvoy. I'm here speaking for Helping Hands Food Pantry of Teaneck. Thank you for the shout out, Dean. We did get the grants. I just wanted to make sure everyone's aware about the food insecurity here in our community. We started off at 4,000 pounds of food a month. My next delivery coming in on Monday, the 28th, will be 19,000 pounds of food. We are going through a month now to help our community. The grant that we received with the Bergen County Food Security Task Force will help us tremendously in stepping up our game, because the paperwork for that food is bad. So I just want to remind you, and you all have been very helpful. Swartz, Dean, Ellie, everybody, we worked as a community to help keeping this food go out. We still do need our forever home, and that's why I'm speaking, not to forget about us. Our numbers are increasing at this time. Again, we're coming in with 19,000 pounds of food. Volunteers have been coming and stepping up. Our community has been giving us great donations. Stop and Shop, Butterflake, Teaneck Hot Bagel, our local establishments have been very helpful in supporting us along and with our council. Thank you, Mr. Swartz. And I just want to remind you that we still need our forever home. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. I'm now bringing in Alan Sohn.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, sir. 3 minutes.
Tonight is not the first time that Mayor Dunleavy has improperly short-circuited or blatantly censored public input. When the cannabis zone ordinance was up for adoption, the mayor maliciously demanded that those opposed step aside in order to allow preferred input only from supporters. Tonight, the mayor arbitrarily cut off many residents who had sought to speak, especially those who didn't indicate in their screen names that they were in favor of the hospital expansion. As specified by state law, NJSA 4049-2, quote, at the time and place so stated in such publication, all persons interested shall be given an opportunity to be heard concerning the ordinance, end quote. Not some residents, all residents. Mayor Dunleavy has refused to comply with the law and allow all residents to speak to the ordinances with no comment from Mr. Shadanian or Mr. Rupp. More illegal censorship. The right to send comments to the clerk is worthless, as it cannot possibly impact an ordinance that has already passed. This is a sad continuation of Mr. Dunleavy's censorship efforts. At the February 22nd meeting, Mr. Dunleavy falsely claimed that I was not speaking to the ordinance. The subject of the ordinance in question was the newsletter, just as the main subject for ordinance adoption tonight was the relationship between Holy Name and its neighbors. The best possible proof of the censorship by Mr. Dunleavy and this township is that the fact that the two people who spoke after I did, Debbie Eliyahu and Susan Schultz, asked the same questions, and Jim Dunleavy answered those questions, none of which had to do with the $100 fee. So too tonight, starting with Paul Ostrow, residents spoke about Holy Name in general and the nature of the negotiations, not about the text of the ordinances up for adoption. The choice by Mr. Dunleavy to maliciously interfere with my remarks, to censor me based on the content of my remarks or my identity, violates the First Amendment to the Constitution. The township has cited the case Maytal v. Tam, which makes clear that government has no legal basis to suppress free speech, but can speak on its own. As offensive as his remarks were, Keith Kaplan could not be stopped from viciously accosting a group of women opposed to the AUCC project, but nothing stops this council from censuring him for his brutal attacks against women. If Deputy Mayors Katz and Schwartz are willing to lie, both at repeated public meetings and in emails, about something as fundamental to any resident as the long-term protection of their home and their neighborhood, if they are willing to lie about turning over several hundred feet of township-owned roadway in exchange for nothing, how can any Teaneck resident trust either of them about?
Mr. Sohn, I apologize. The 3 minutes were up. I am bringing in Ezra Katz. Ezra Katz, whenever you're ready, you may unmute, and you have 3 minutes. I think you're muted, my friend.
Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear, Ezra. You have 3 minutes.
Great. All right, thank you so much. Hi, my name is Ezra Katz, and I live on Vandalinda Ave near Holy Name. I also did not get a chance to talk tonight during the ordinance hearing, and I'd like to say that I am disappointed by the hospital ordinance vote tonight. With all the talk from the council tonight, I believe our town planner said it best, and I quote, "I personally and our office is frustrated and exhausted by the hospital's behavior and actions, and why allowing them to get their way imperils the neighborhood and the township," end quote. And that is coming from our own town planner, which is saying a lot. Teaneck deserves development that is done with sensitivity and the highest standard levels. We did not achieve those highest standards with a hospital vote tonight. I have read every word of the ordinance, and it is plain as day that it indeed imperils the neighborhood and the township. The hospital expansion could have been a win-win, where the hospital is allowed to expand and the surrounding neighborhood is protected, but not with the ordinance that was voted on tonight. I hope this council can do better in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ezra. I'm bringing in David S. David, if you may, please state your name for the record.
Hi, David Schlussel. I was also among those who did not get the opportunity to speak, as well as many other people I know who also did not get the opportunity to speak, even though our hands were raised from the very, very beginning of when this was opened up. I'm not going to address some of the things which were simply false. I will say that there's a sense of veiled and not so veiled threats. I will say that if you go back to the MOU, when they talked about permanent deed restrictions for the surface parking and the single family homes, when you look at Richard Price's early drafts talked about permanent deed restrictions for surface parking and single family homes. And then you see the stunt of waiving a very flawed agreement that, yes, it had the word 40, but it also talked about how it could be rescinded, how It would be binding on people who never signed the agreement and that was part of the rescinding, clearly not meant to be countersigned or executed. That's a stunt. That's meant for public consumption, but we all know better. It's something when you say these things and do these things, it shows a lack of seriousness. Yes, you put in time, a lot of time, no question about it. But the way it went about and the things that were changed and repeatedly changed for the worse, each step of the way, how many times they traded permanent deed restrictions and promises, frankly, to the town, and then withdraw from it, and then remove them, and kept removing other things. And they finally signed something because he said, go sign something and we'll rush it through. That's what happened. I applaud those who advocate for more free speech. I applaud those who advocate for more transparency. I'm very disappointed with how this went about, and I'm very disappointed with the threats and not so veiled threats. Thank you.
Thank you, David. I am bringing in Hillary Goldberg.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, 3 minutes, miss.
The claim by Councilwoman Organ that residents who disagree with the actions of this council is hate speech is not a claim that you can take legitimate action on. In the Supreme Court case Mittal v. Tam, the justices unanimously reaffirmed that there is no hate speech exception to the First Amendment. But we do not have to like all speech, but we have the right to say it without interference by the governing body. Justice Anthony Kennedy wrote, "A law found to discriminate based on viewpoint is an egregious form of content discrimination, which is presumptively unconstitutional. A law that can be directed against speech found offensive to some portion of the public can be turned against minority and dissenting views to the detriment of all. The First Amendment does not entrust that power to the government's benevolence. Instead, our reliance must be on the substantial safeguards of free and open discussion in a democratic society. In short, free and open discussion is not hate speech." One Town, One Vote is looking to celebrate a historic day on Tuesday, November 8th, 2022, when residents will have the opportunity to vote for all their elected officials in a single unified election. In the meantime, One Town, One Vote continues its mission to make Teaneck a place where every resident knows that their voice matters and their vote counts. That's it. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you. I'm bringing in Judith R. Bringing in Judith R. Again, members of the public, when we promote you to panelists, you must accept the invitation that pops up on your screen to do so. Judith, whenever you are ready. Judith, whenever you are ready, please unmute. Judith, whenever you are ready, please unmute. Judith R., whenever you are ready, please unmute. Just one more minute. Sorry, Judith, I guess you're having some technical difficulties. If you'd like, you can send your comments to clerk@teaneckng.gov, and I will be sure that the council receives them.
All right, with that, we will close good and welfare for the evening. So we will start with comments from council. And I think we'll start with Javon this evening. Councilmember Rice.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As always, thank you to all the residents that call in and voice their concerns and express their right to free speech. I want to say thank you especially to all the women who call in, as it is Women's History Month, and happy that we have a proclamation to name so. I want to say thank you to Teaneck Voices for acknowledging so many women in Teaneck who have made a major contribution to this community. We greatly appreciate that and look forward to greater endeavors and contributions from the women of this community. Again, thank you with regard to the areas of free speech. I hope that is something that we will continue to manifest and exemplify the importance of making sure that we represent those voices that are heard this evening. We addressed the issue with the hospital already. I know that old folks are not happy, but as was mentioned, it's a compromise. And so prayerfully, it's something that we can all live with. Thank you. I yield the balance of my time.
Thank you, Councilmember Rice. Councilmember Bougain.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to start off by thanking all the Teaneck residents who attended the Ukrainian prayer vigil we had at City Hall on March 3rd. It was a very touching, moving event. I also want to remind residents that March is Women's History Month, which is when we celebrate the many contributions made by women in our community and our country. This month, we also celebrate Irish independence and Greek independence. And just a couple of weeks ago, we marked the independence of the Dominican Republic. So we have a lot going on during the month of March, as well as budget season. Our budget hearings have begun, and I encourage residents to please feel free to reach out to us or to our city manager with any questions or concerns about the budget, and to please feel free to also attend our hearings, which are being held every week. And lastly, because it is getting late, Mr. Manager, can you please briefly talk about plans for a future forever home for the food pantry when you get a chance? And thank you, Mr. Mayor. That is my time.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Bougain. Councilmember Kaplan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, I'm very proud of Teaneck as well for standing at the vigil, and you know, I really feel that, look, there are a lot of places in this world where women and men cannot get up at a council meeting and say the things that they said here. They will be taken away. The fact that you can hear people come here and say, you cut us off, is evidence that they are able to say those things. And there's a bit of a contradiction there, but I want people to be able to hear that. What happened at a previous meeting was very simple. Somebody spoke the wrong thing at a portion of the meeting that was for an ordinance and not good in welfare. Some members misspoke that. It's a complicated issue. It's one of those things that, you know, if you want to hear more about it, I'm happy to chat with you. You should email me. It's kkaplan@teanecknj.gov. What Councilwoman Organ had spoken about is, you know, sometimes the way we talk to each other, it really creates a toxic environment, not only for us, but for the people in the room. It has a chilling effect on people that want to come out to the council to talk to us. So it's something we should seriously consider, not as censorship, but as the way we speak to one another. Last month, I went online and I uploaded some documents onto a new website the town has. They were from my veterinarian. I used a credit card to pay a fee, and I got the first dog license that Teaneck has issued through our new SDL system. The SDL system is now online, and residents are able to go and sign up for it. And I told another resident about it. He signed up. He reported it went as smooth as can be. And, you know, as the manager has mentioned in previous meetings, we have our boards and departments signing up for these. It has huge opportunities for residents. The biggest opportunity that it gives our employees tools they've never had. for the benefits of residents. So as you know, just a very brief example, you're going to be able to, and you literally can now go online and report health code violations. You could submit building permits. You can check maps to see your property, what application statuses are, and a whole lot more. So we have been working on a lot of things. I've been working with the clerk on code updates, so now you can see them. We're working with the attorneys to make them more readable and user-friendly, and through SDL, which I worked with the mayor to bring forward, we're now seeing a lot of that turn into actionable items. So yeah, we have a lot of stuff on the agenda, and we're doing a lot for residents, so I don't want that to get lost. And like I said, if anyone has questions about things that are said here and wants a real thought out comment, hit me up with an email. We'll chat, we'll talk, and we'll get those answered as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilman Kaplan. Councilmember Organ.
Just two quick points to, I think it was Ms. Addison, if that was Natalie, I didn't see a last name. The dedication for Dr. Hoffman was voted on by council months ago. A date was picked, and then I think it was delayed, and it ended up being a very cold day. But the notification that you got was the notification that you get right before the event, but this was in the works for quite some time. And the outdoor dining, which was put into effect because of COVID to help keep businesses thriving, well, that's winding down now. And so the planner is working on a plan for outdoor dining so that it is something uniform throughout the town. When that is available, it'll be presented at a meeting. But just so that it's not a committee that's working on it, this is something that's going to be important because if anybody chooses to continue dining outdoors, there has to be some uniform policy. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Organ. Deputy Mayor Schwartz.
Thank you very much. Okay, just 4 quick comments. To Miss Addison, Councilwoman Organ detailed what the next steps are as it relates to outdoor dining, but I know you mentioned you wanted to give your input, so I'd love to hear it from you. So feel free to please call me 917-902-9303, 917-902-9303, and we will definitely talk, or you can email me as well, mschwartz, MSCHWARTZ @teanecknj.gov. Ms. Baker, it was good to hear from you. It was good meeting you along with Deputy Mayor Katz and Councilwoman Organ. And I think the manager was trying to reach you as well, but I'll let him respond to that. The comment that was made about the police was made by someone else, but I think it was made because the car that your son was driving actually had like police law enforcement plates in it. So I believe that's why he asked you that. So please take a look at the car, the Jeep, because it has a law enforcement license plates on it. But it was good to see you, and I know the manager was trying to reach out to you with additional details on what's going on and to give you his phone number. I think we're going to leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Deputy Mayor Katz.
I don't think he has any.
No, he's not there. Okay. Okay. I just have a couple of things. I too would like to thank everybody who came out for the Ukrainian vigil. It was a great show of unity and support for the people of the Ukraine. I know many people came up to me afterwards and thanked me, saying that that was what Teaneck was all about. So I'm glad that we did it. And I also want to thank everybody that came out tonight. I know this is a long meeting. I know some people were disappointed that they didn't get to speak. However, as I was doing the tally, we had pretty much the same amount of people talking for as against during the night. So I think everybody, both sides got a fair review in terms of that. I think Natalie asked about something for Senator Weinberg. I spoke with Ms. Lightburn last week, and I explained to her the process of getting something like that done. So she is aware of what it is. It's not just come to a meeting and say we want to do it or you got to do it. There's a process. So I spent time on the phone with her and explained to her the process. And now it's in her court as to what's going to happen. In terms of Dr. Hoffman's dedication, that was voted on 2 years ago. And we've had to put it off for COVID. And we did have to delay it once because of weather. I do believe there was another notice sent out previous to that Friday, if I remember correctly, because I know Dean and I talked about sending several out. So you may not have seen it, but we had a very nice group of people there, and it was very well received. In terms of this limiting speech stuff, I want everybody to reflect upon good and welfare this evening. What was different? What wasn't able to be said? Everyone had an opportunity to speak, just like at the good and welfare at the last meeting, where everybody got a chance to speak whatever they wanted to say for 3 minutes, right? What the kerfuffle is about had to do with a portion of the meeting that's related just to the ordinances that are going to be passed that evening. And it's always said before that time that your comments should be towards those ordinances. The comments of one individual, in the chair's opinion, went far afield of the ordinance that was being discussed. And that's why I gave him several warnings before we turned off the mic. So that's the truth. That's what happened. You can spin it any way you want. You want to make it a civil rights issue. I don't know what you want to do. But the fact remains is that's not the same thing as the good and welfare that you have at the end of the meeting. And again, I want you to keep in mind what you heard tonight and what you heard in good and welfare at that meeting. And tell me that everybody's views were not heard and were not interrupted. And I think that's all I have now. Dean, could you comment on, I'm not sure if it's finalized yet. I'm not sure where we are at, but in terms of where we might be able to help with the food pantry, I know we talked about several things.
Yeah, so again, we're going to be, as I mentioned, remediating the entire basement. There's some environmental work that needs to be done. We're going to strip everything down to the load-bearing beams, and then we are going to renovate in 2023. The idea is to put the food pantry in the northwest corner where the old building department was. There's plenty of square footage there for what they need to do. And an office next to the food pantry, I'm going to relocate our social services specialist because I believe they go hand in hand. It'd be a good service to have him close by. There'll be an office for the chamber. There'll be some storage space and a few other things in that basement, but that's a renovation project that's going to take place in 2023 capital.
Great. Thank you. Was there anything else, Dean, you wanted to comment on?
That's it. Just we tried to work with Dr. Hoffman on a date that was suitable for him as well with his plans, work, vacation. And again, it was iffy over the weekend with that storm. But Sunday again was a nice day, cold day, but I appreciate everyone coming out. I think we had about 40, 50 people there on Sunday.
Yeah, great. The only other thing I do want to mention is, and it's on the heels of what Councilman Kaplan talked about in terms of SDL and the new computer system. We're also looking to do similar types of computerization. It's really there already in the recreation department. So many of the things that are happening now by paper or people having to come into the rec center to sign up or to get permits for things, we're hopeful that very soon we'll be able to announce that too is going to be computerized so that all of those things can be put up through the computer from home, and that there will be a kind of a master calendar for all recreation activities that have been approved. So everybody at a glance can see which fields are being permitted to who and so on and so forth. So I'm looking forward to that. I think that's going to be a great plus for the recreation department. Okay. Let's move on now to the consent agenda. Doug, if you can read the amount of bills.
Absolutely. Again, the consent agenda this evening, this is for 3 sets of minutes, resolution 63 through 80. Remember, 79 and 80 were walked in from Councilman Kaplan with the approval of council, and the bill list in the amount of $10,913,917.17.
Move Schwartz.
Second, Bougain.
Is moved and seconded.
Wait, I lost my pen.
Pass the raffles, minutes, resolutions, bill list, resolutions 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, and 80, and the bill list. Okay, take a vote.
Councilwoman Rami Rice,
Yes, with an abstention on the bills list.
Councilman Bougain,
Yes.
Councilwoman Organ,
Yes.
Councilman Kaplan,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Katz,
Yes, with an abstention on the walked-in resolutions. And an abstention on the bill list as well.
Are you
right,
abstaining on
Mayor
ordinances,
Dunleavy.
Strema?
Sorry, Doug, you got that abstaining on the bills list and abstaining on the walked-in resolutions.
79 and 80. I heard that, Deputy Mayor Katz. And Mayor Dunleavy.
Yes. All right.
All right, all adopted.
Ordinances. Can we do this in 3 minutes?
That sounds like a challenge. Yes. So we are considering 6, 7, 8. Sorry. We are considering 2 ordinances for introduction this evening, Mayor and Council. First up, we have ordinance number 12-2022, amending Rule 10 of Appendix 1, Council Rules of Procedure of Chapter 2, Charter Administrative Code of the Code of the Township of Teaneck, relating to appointments by council. Last but not least, we have ordinance number 13-2022, vacating a portion of Chadwick Road in the Township of Teaneck.
Moved Schwartz.
Second, Bougain.
Okay, no other comment? Sounds good. Let's have a roll call.
Councilwoman Rami Rice,
Yes.
Councilman Bougain,
Yes.
Councilwoman Organ,
Yes on 12, recusal on 13.
yes on 12, recusal on 13. Got that. Sorry, 1 second. Recusal, you said, Councilwoman. And Councilman Kaplan,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz,
Yes on both.
Deputy Mayor Katz,
Yes on both.
Mayor Dunleavy.
Yes on both. All right.
We'll see them again in a few weeks.
I want a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn the meeting. Schwartz.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm not even going to ask if anybody's opposed. All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Night, everyone.
Everybody be safe.